party's begun. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Mr. Crushy's on the mic. Yeah, we're keeping it wild, bringing out the humor, yeah, we're keeping it styled. Stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the games. We're burning up the screen, yeah, we're fanning the flames. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the crush. What? Crush. Welcome to the show, yeah, we're taking the lead. Mr. Crushy's everything that you need. Got the rhythm, got the flow, got the charm on lock. Turning up the heat, yeah, we're rocking the block. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Mr. Crushy's on the mic. Yeah, we're keeping it wild, bringing out the humor, yeah, we're keeping it styled. Stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the games. We're burning up the screen, yeah, we're fanning the flames. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the crush. What? Crush. Welcome to the show, yeah, we're taking the lead. Mr. Crushy's everything that you need. Got the rhythm, got the flow, got the charm on lock. Turning up the heat, yeah, we're rocking the block. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Mr. Crushy's on the mic. Yeah, we're keeping it wild, bringing out the humor, yeah, we're keeping it styled. Stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the games. We're burning up the screen, yeah, we're fanning the flames. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the crush. What? Crush. Welcome to the show, yeah, we're taking the lead. Mr. Crushy's everything that you need. Got the rhythm, got the flow, got the charm on lock. Turning up the heat, yeah, we're rocking the block. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Mr. Crushy's on the mic. Yeah, we're keeping it wild, bringing out the humor, yeah, we're keeping it styled. Stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the games. We're burning up the screen, yeah, we're fanning the flames. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the crush. What? Crush. Welcome to the show, yeah, we're taking the lead. Mr. Crushy's everything that you need. Got the rhythm, got the flow, got the charm on lock. Turning up the heat, yeah, we're rocking the block. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Mr. Crushy's on the mic. Yeah, we're keeping it wild, bringing out the humor, yeah, we're keeping it styled. Stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the games. We're burning up the screen, yeah, we're fanning the flames. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the crush. What? Crush. Welcome to the show, yeah, we're taking the lead. Mr. Crushy's everything that you need. Got the rhythm, got the flow, got the charm on lock. Turning up the heat, yeah, we're rocking the block. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Mr. Crushy's on the mic. Yeah, we're keeping it wild. Bringing out the humor, yeah, we're keeping it styled. Stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the games. We're burning up the screen, yeah, we're fanning the flames. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the crush. What? Crush. Welcome to the show, yeah, we're taking the lead. Mr. Crushy's everything that you need. Got the rhythm, got the flow, got the charm on lock. Turning up the heat, yeah, we're rocking the block. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Mr. Crushy's on the mic. Yeah, we're keeping it wild.
No, we're
Bringing
good,
out the
babe,
humor,
never
yeah, we're
mind.
keeping it styled.
And we're live. Let's see here. No, let's go with it on. We're live now. Everybody can see you. Can you guys hear him okay? Can you introduce yourself? Can you guys hear him okay? Miss Winton. Chat, can you guys give me the signal that you guys can hear both? You don't hear him. He's muted. Weird. No, that's not you. It's not you. It's on my end. It's on my end. Let's see here. Why is it not picking it up? All right. Let's go to send it to Chrome, maybe. What about now? Can you introduce yourself again?
Hi, I'm Rob Montana.
Can you guys hear him now? Yeah, okay, cool.
Testing
That
1,
was
2,
it.
3.
Yeah,
Awesome.
they can hear you now. Yeah, just stay a little bit closer to the mic, and I think you're good. And you can move it too. Yeah. All right, we've got a good amount of people in here already. Wow. Wow, you guys really wanted to see see Rob. You guys didn't even know Rob was coming on. Do any of you guys know who Rob is before we get started? Because I'm going to talk a lot with Rob about him and his life. You guys do know who he is. Okay.
Somebody knows me out there. That's amazing.
With 3 people,
It's
know, 4 people know
my
you already, yeah.
my 3 followers on Twitter are out there.
Should I just go to Discord? David, no, you don't. You don't have to. We're live now. Everyone should be able to hear him. Everyone says that they can hear him. All right, Rob. We just got done doing a collab. We ran way over. Sorry, we were supposed to be on like an hour ago. But Rob, tell me first, how long have you been in the adult content business?
Okay, so I started. Basically, I opened an OnlyFans kind of middle of 2021. So, almost 5 years now.
Okay. Is it a lot different than when you started?
Things are changing, definitely. I'm kind of old school. When I started doing this, it was definitely, studios were still king. OnlyFans was still just kind of a new on the scene. Porn was becoming more democratized, if you will, at that time. And So what I've been used to, we were talking about this earlier, what I've been used to doing is kind of creating things in that old style that's more studio like. So if you look at a lot of my content, it's very curated and produced and, well edited. And, we have these 20 to 30-minute scenes, but that's not how people are consuming porn anymore, is what I'm finding.
So yeah, tell me more about that. What are you finding?
I just, recently I've been working with some directors. I was in Palm Springs. Anthony DeFoto is a director who works with Nasty Daddy and Bondage Bros. And I was doing a couple of scenes for Bondage Bros, and I thought we were just going to do a traditional, 20 to 30-minute scene. And he said, no, we're going to do what are called updates. And we're going to do 3 updates. So they're basically, he wanted us to do 3 different kind of 10-minute scenes. He is like, if it doesn't go full 10 minutes, that's fine. But I was very curious about why 10 minutes or, why this format. And he just said, with TikTok and social media, younger generations are not sitting down and watching something for 20 to 30 minutes. They're scrolling, and we all do that. Like, it's not just younger generations, but we're all being programmed to consume information differently. And we scroll and we look at something, and if it catches our attention, we stop, we pause, we watch it for a little bit. But, why shouldn't porn be any different than that?
Right. And I mean, to be honest, I'm like that. Chat, if you guys in the comments in the chat, let us know, do you prefer like the long, heavy produced style of adult content, or do you prefer more like shorter but to the point content? I've gotten more like that. I had the same experience as you, where like when I started, I felt like I had to like really produce everything. And like, it's not that I'm against it now. It's just, it's not the only thing that I do anymore. And like I try to catch authentic moments more now. And like, if I'm producing, it's more, how do I produce this to catch that authentic moment better? Or, it's like you were telling me before we filmed ours today, like, it's like you want to catch a scene, like, or like a setting, which like one of my favorites that I ever did was a Sniffies. Like we reenacted a Sniffies cruising thing in Boston. We were in Boston and we made it like real grungy. Like we met up behind a dumpster in an alley, because Boston has all those like crazy old
amazing
alleys.
So you can hide out.
but what I'll say is like, that's about as on that one, that's as far as we went with producing it. And then like we kind of just let the rest roll. And like we kind of like just were like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Like, it was 3 of us. So it was like a 3-way cruising thing. But like, it was definitely more like, the producing went more into setting the stage. And then from there, we tried to keep it more authentic. And like, there's like a balance you have to find, because if it's too produced, you lose the authenticity. And I mean, to an extent, it's everything we're making is inauthentic on some level, because we're trying to catch angles. It's
a fantasy, right? I mean, also you're trying to provide a fantasy for people, which, is imagination. It's not necessarily real life. It's funny you mentioned the 3-way that you're talking about, because I did something that was similar. That was basically we made it look like a scruff hookup. So I was in my apartment and there were 2 other local performers, and the camera's showing my phone on scruff, chatting with this person. Hey, do you want to come over? Hey, I got a friend with me. Is it okay if he comes too? Blah, blah, blah. And, then then they're filming the guys walking down my hall in my apartment to my door, knocking on it, coming in, blah, blah, blah. And it's on Raw Road Nation now. They bought the clip from me because they loved it so much, and it was like it's been one of the highest viewed videos that I have. Is this little collaboration I did that was a hookup, basically a scruff hookup. So I think there's a way to do produced authenticity.
I
You know, where you can still
sold a clip of yours to a studio.
Yeah. Sometimes
How does that work?
you get these.
Like, can you?
Sometimes
no
you get a
longer sell it?
website. No. Basically, some websites will, website/studios will buy stuff off of creators so that they can have more content on their website. So I sold them maybe about 10 different clips of mine, some of my best stuff, my top 10 or whatever at that time. And they don't own the rights to them or anything like that, but now they can use them on their website. And when they use them on their website, they're getting the revenue from the clicks on their website.
Okay.
Oh, it's a win-win. It's a win-win. And
I've never had anyone like try to buy my content. I've had people just straight up steal it.
That happens all the time.
How much effort do you put into like scrubbing the internet from ripped clips of yours or ripped movies? I spend almost
zero.
I spend I literally
honestly, every once in a while, I'm kind of surprised and flattered. Actually, if I come across something on Pornhub that I'm like, "Oh, there I am." That is not supposed to be there, but hey, somebody thought it was good enough to post it on Pornhub. So I don't know. I don't get a bent out of shape about it.
Yeah, neither do I. I feel like it's just like a losing battle. It's too much work. And like it's gonna happen no matter what. And I've but I've even experienced this. I've had, because as you know, like I don't do PPV, and I also have a really low subscription price. And so there's some creators that are like they do the super exclusive model.
Yeah.
Where like it's an expensive subscription price, but then even on top of that, you have to pay a lot to see anything of theirs, and so they're doing like the scarcity model where it's like it's impossible to see them, and those guys spend a lot of time and money scrubbing the internet of anything that's been ripped.
Sure.
They don't want to work with me. Because they're like,
because you're the other model.
Yeah, and they're like, well, then no one's gonna buy it from me because they're all gonna just go to your page. And I'm like, I can wait a year. I don't really care that much.
Yeah,
but it's I've gotten it quite a few times where a creator doesn't want to work with me because I guess I'm too accessible.
I think like a lot of things, it's a balance between being accessible and being too elite, too rare, too exclusive. I think you want your stuff to be out there enough to where you're recognizable and where your brand is recognizable and where people can see you and say, "Oh, I know who that is. That's Crush Daddy. I like his stuff." Versus if you're too exclusive, if you're too elusive, then where are you going to get your following if you're just posting things in a very like almost in a vacuum, in a secretive way?
Yeah, I know, and I guess I lean more towards the accessible side with my business model, but like I've rarely noticed an uptick in my subscriptions or people coming to me asking, like, if you were like $30 a month plus $30 a video on top of that, and then we work together. I don't feel like very few of your fans will come to me to try and see the video. Like just from what I've noticed, like they will they support you and they want to see it. They want to give, and so like every once in a blue moon, I'll get someone that like is like, "Hey, when are you going to release that video of that person?" And I know it's because they're charging $30 for the video over there, and they know that they're just going to get it with the subscription with me, and so they're like waiting. But like, I don't notice like it makes a difference, and like I'm not getting a ton of subscribers from that person.
Honestly, I don't think it makes.
Yeah.
I don't think it makes a big difference. I think your fans are your fans because they like you, they support you, they want to subscribe to you, they want to give you their money, right?
Right.
So, sure, there are going to be people out there that shop around and they try to find the cheapest deal on this or that. But I found that, my best relationships are the ones that I've had for a really long time. And those people will resubscribe to me constantly because they want to support me.
Yeah,
It's not just about watching my videos. Yeah.
And I think that's the newer age of doing this. I think in the beginning when this was brand new, it was all about exclusivity. And there's some people that are still doing it that way. And it's my kind of assumption that that's going to die out. Or like you almost have to be famous for something else first. Like a Kim Kardashian in order to do the exclusivity thing. But starting, becoming famous as a adult content creator, it's not going to work because you're going to be too inaccessible, like you said.
Yeah.
And there's so much free stuff out there now. How do you, cause this was my thinking. You tell me what you think. When I first set my price on OF and places like that, when I first made it, I wasn't doing collabs yet. I was just dancing and making TikToks about what it's like to be a dancer at gay bars. And so I made it because everyone asked me for one, and you did a couple, solos on there, and I was like, this ain't worth shit. And I was like, so I felt bad raising my price to making it $20 a month or something, because what are you gonna see 6 solo videos on the other horrible iPhone ones with a tripod. And then a year later when I did my first actual collab, I still had that thought because I was like, well, you get one collab out of me so why am I gonna. And then a year in, I think I did 100 collabs my first year.
Nice.
And people were like, you can probably raise your price now because you've got you've got 55 videos on your page now with some of the biggest creators in the business, and they're relatively well produced, and you've got 55 in the pipeline. So you can raise your price to say $10, $20, whatever, and people will probably be fine with it. But then I actually had this conversation with my dad about it. I was like, should I raise my price? And he was like, I don't know. I pay $17 a month for Netflix and they spend millions on their content. I wouldn't spend $17 on yours.
Yeah.
That was in that logic.
Well, gee, Dad, thanks.
I know, but I was like, he's kind of got a point. I'm very small. If I'm going to charge Netflix prices, shouldn't I have Netflix content? And I'm not saying that's what other people should do. It's just that was my logic on my content, was just I can't, and what the other model that I think is good, that I think a lot of creators are doing, and I did this for a while, was a pre-release. So you do you do it paid first for say 90 days if you want to get it early, and then you release it on your page full after 90 days or something. I've seen a lot of creators adopting that model. So then they still get PPV revenue, but then they get you get some exclusivity by buying it early. The reason I don't do it is it's too much work. I can't keep track.
It's a lot to keep track of. Honestly, I just signed up with a content management agency because I can't keep up with it all. I my different jobs, and some content creators do this full time, and that's great for them to be able to manage their own stuff. But a friend of mine said something to me, and I was like, "You're totally right." He said, "What's 0% of 0?" And I said, "Yeah, I see what you're saying. If I'm not putting my stuff out there because I don't have the time, it's not making any money. It's sitting on a shelf. It's sitting on my hard drive. 0% of 0 is 0. if I'm at least having a company and they're taking a cut for it, but at least the stuff's getting out there, at least now I'm making some money. So for me, it was a no brainer to turn that over to somebody. Plus, it's nice to have somebody posting for me on my social media. That's a full-time job. That feels like a full-time job all the time. Just keeping up with posting so that you don't become dead to the algorithm.
And people don't realize how much work it is. Like,
A lot of work.
like people really think we just like record and then press post after. Like we're like me and you just got done and then we just upload it and post it. Like it's not how it
No,
works.
there's a whole post-production workflow. Like I'll record something, it'll sit on my phone for a while. I still have stuff actually that I recorded about a year ago that's still sitting on my phone. But anyway, if I were up on it a little more, I would put that in a folder on Dropbox, and I have things named a certain way, and I have certain folders that I put all my, raw footage in. The consent forms have to go in there. And then I send the raw clips to my editor, and I have to give him information about, what it was, who the performers were I was working with, what's some suggested titles I want to give to the scene. Any notes like, oh, hey, in 15 minutes and 12 seconds, we had to stop because this happened. So I have to give him notes on anything that he might need to be aware of when he's doing the editing. And then,
you said you have a full-time job too?
yeah,
What's your full-time job?
I'm a professor.
Oh, I love that. What do you teach?
I teach biology.
Oh, perfect. Oh, and who says you can't? Dude, I get told all the time, like, oh, now you can't get a normal job because your dick is on the internet. And I was like, I don't think
It's
that's
not.
true.
It's really not that way anymore. I mean, I don't teach children, so I teach adults, and I'm very lucky that I can have those two worlds because I get different things from those two different jobs. My porn is my creative side, and sexual expression and sex positivity, and then I can feed my intellectual side with my other job.
I do think it's more true on the gay side of the content creation world.
That may be true. Yeah.
I do think that, especially with women, it's like
there's a double standard.
I think it's because the majority of the people consuming, gay porn are gay, and therefore less judgmental about it. And so, if somebody at your job knows that you do gay porn, they're probably a consumer.
Exactly.
So,
actually, I'm lucky. My supervisor is my best friend, and he's also a gay man who himself used to do gay porn when he was young.
I feel like I haven't met a gay dude that didn't used to do gay porn. I guess.
Well, especially now, right?
Well, especially like even back on the VHS days. Like when I talk to dudes in their 50s, 60s, they're like, oh yeah, I did 3 or 4 scenes for blah, blah, blah when I was 25 to pay for college. Back when you could do 2 scenes and it'll pay for your entire college tuition.
different model back then. Yeah. And we were talking about this earlier, how, there's a lot of people out there. I get asked this question all the time. People who want to get into porn. They're curious. And they have this notion that it's kind of this get rich quick thing.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to open an OnlyFans and I'm going to make $10,000 in a month. And I'm like, you can just drop that notion immediately. There are some people that have done that.
Unless
sure.
you have a following to start.
Yeah. And also I just think that that's the 1% and not the 99% of people that like explode overnight.
I haven't seen it much at all. And every single time I've seen it happen, it was either they started right at the creation of this and there was obviously no one doing it, or they already had a big following and then they started it. And then that first month is always going to be massive for someone that already has a following, because the tension has been building for however long they were doing whatever else they were doing.
Right.
And like, I was one of those people. Like, I think I was primarily big on TikTok, even though like I'm not on TikTok really anymore, but like I was primarily big on TikTok for doing stripper questions videos, which is like, what are the 3 questions I got asked at the club today? Like, the one that was most common was, like,
I want to hear this.
Are you gay or straight? And I would answer, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. And so by the time, like, when I did my first collab, like, I did make a good amount. I kind of like immediately made a full-time living, but it wasn't fuck you money, like, at all. It was just enough where I didn't need a full-time job. Like, it was literally just enough where I didn't need, and it was less than what I was making as a stripper. It was definitely less. It's to this day still less, but it's much easier and more fun for me than stripping was. Because, like,
yeah, and it's also steady income. You know, like, it's once you've done this for a while and you've amassed a certain amount of content, you can kind of sit back a little bit and be like, okay, this is like passive income now. You know, I can recycle videos that I made 5 years ago, and it's new again to somebody out there.
willing to bet if you quit today, like you quit filming new content today, it'll be 5 years before you make under $1,000 a month. Like,
it could take a while.
Yeah. I really do think it's like, because it's a residual buildup, but it's also a residual downturn. Which, like, that was the thing with stripping. The thing that really messed me up mentally with stripping was, like, I never had any idea how much money I was going to make every night. You know, like, it was, I've had nights where I made thousands of dollars, and then I had nights where I came back in the negative, and I emotionally, I had no idea. Like, I couldn't budget. Like, budgeting was impossible as a dancer.
Yeah.
It was
it's
just
not
like,
steady.
It was literally like, and the only thing that I did that most dancers don't do is, like, I would stack money away for if I broke my leg, you know, and then, which, that's so stressful. Where with this, like, I took 3
100%.
months off last year to go traveling with Frankie and with my parents, and it was like nothing changed.
Yeah,
like, it was the first time in my life where I just took almost 0 hit on my income, and I took a 3-month vacation, basically.
That's awesome.
You know,
and for me, when I started this, I think it was probably at least a year before I started seeing, you know, I think I took a loss that first year that I was doing this. And then once I had amassed a certain amount of content, it was like, okay, now I'm starting to see the benefit from this. So, you know, going back to the whole like get rich quick overnight thing, it doesn't work that way. You have to kind of be okay with doing this in the red for a while before you start seeing the benefit from it. Unless you, like you said, unless you have already a following or something like that. But, you know, if you're brand new at this,
be ready for like a couple $100 a month for your first few months, you know, even right. with I've, especially with women, because there's so many of them doing it, they have an even harder time than us. Where I've seen women with the same following as me not break $1,000 their first month. Because,
really? See, and I had this notion that it was the other way around, that the women had it easier, because I just had this feeling like straight men will pay for their porn, but gay men don't.
It's not just no,
like,
but you have to factor in, like, how many of us are doing it.
There's a lot of, I mean, I don't know. And just from my perspective, I feel like there's a lot of gay content creators around the world.
I agree.
A lot.
But but like, how many do you think it is? Maybe 1,000?
I honestly
that are
don't
like
know.
Really doing it. I'm guessing it's between 500 and 1,000 that are like doing it.
Serious about it. Okay.
Yeah, maybe 500 to 1,000. How many women do you think there are?
A lot
They
more
think-
than that.
They think it's close to 1 million.
Really?
Yeah, so
Wow.
like, even though the gay population is only, I think, 7% of the entire population, those two differences are much bigger. 1,000 to, that 7% and 1 million to the rest of the straight men. Because look, even in dancing, how many gay strip clubs do you know of?
Well, where I'm from, we have 0.
Right. There's 0.
We used to have
in
one, but it
DC.
closed. Yeah.
How many female strip clubs are there in DC? I bet
I
you
can
it's
think
like-
of at least.
It's
There's
probably
like 4 or
30
5.
There's probably
No, not
30.
even that many.
Maybe there's like 50 here in Houston.
I know of at least 4 or 5. But also, I'm just thinking about where I live and what I've seen.
Yeah, so it's I think it's harder for us. The aspect where you're kind of touching on, though, I think you're right. It is harder for us to get gay guys to pay for porn because they're not as desperate for sex. As someone who lives and has lived on both sides of the sexuality spectrum, straight dudes are not getting laid. And like, even the most below average gay dude I know is getting laid semi-regularly.
It's too easy. If you're gay, there's hookup apps. Men have been socialized to have less hangups about sex and less of, women have been raised to have, I have to treat my body a certain way so that it's, and I have to prepare myself for marriage and, all of these other things that guys don't have put upon us or thrust upon us.
Well,
So
they have the pressure of sleeping with as many women as they can because if they don't, they're losers. They have
the guys, yes.
The guys have
Straight guys.
pressure. They feel pressure to sleep with as many women and the hottest women as possible because if they don't, they're a loser. That's almost how their hierarchy works. Which both what you just said and what I said does not exist in the gay world. Like neither of those things exist, which is why I love it. Like I love the deep, big breath of fresh air I get to take. Even when making content, I mostly make gay content as a bisexual guy because of that atmosphere. It's not even just because it's better money or for me, because I make good money on my bisexual and straight stuff too, but it's so much more relaxed. We're not thinking about a million things.
What you just said about, straight men being almost revered for having lots of sexual conquests, gay men, it's almost the opposite of that. I feel like there is a little bit of slut shaming in the gay community. It's like if you slept with too many people,
but
it's like there's a line.
What's considered too many is definitely
that is true.
Number than what's considered too many with women.
That's true. That's true.
I've heard straight men tell me that they can't marry a woman that's been with more than 3 guys.
Oh, good luck these days.
And I was like, oh, you're really narrowing your dating pool down to almost nothing. And you want her to be hot too?
They could always date a Mormon.
Speaking of which, you're Mormon, or you grew up
I
Mormon,
am.
I should say. You're not.
I'm actually technically still Mormon. I was
Okay.
never excommunicated.
Hold up. Tell me a little. Okay, so let's expand on this.
Mhm.
So, were you born in Utah?
No, I'm from Montana, so
Okay.
the whole Rocky Mountains are all part of we call it the Mormon Belt.
Okay.
From Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, all the way down to Arizona, New Mexico, Arizona. So huge Mormon population throughout that,
Mhm.
Rocky Mountain region. So I was from southwestern Montana, born and raised, and my mom was a convert. She converted. I think she was pregnant with me when the missionaries knocked on her door for the first time. And
is that why you're Rob Montana? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rob from Montana. You just put it together.
Okay, I just put the two and two together. Sorry. Okay, keep
All
going.
good.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off with that dumb fucking statement.
Oh, I love it.
Right, so
Rob
Mom's a
Montana.
convert.
She's a convert. Yeah, so I was raised in the church. Baptized when you're in the Mormon church, you get baptized when you're 8 years old.
Mhm.
They consider that the age of where you it's kind of where you lose your innocence, and it's like, okay, now I know better. I can make decisions for myself at that age, and so you make a conscious decision to become and be baptized and become a full member of the church. So I think it was probably in my early teens when I started notice, or at least allowing myself to notice that I had an attraction to men. But
What
in
do
the
you mean
Mormon
allowing
faith
yourself? Sorry, before you keep going.
versus suppressing that completely.
Okay. So you were like okay with it, but you were hiding it.
I would let the thoughts come into my mind, but then I would immediately push them down.
Okay.
It's like that Book of Mormon song, if you've ever watched the play.
Yes, I've watched the play multiple times.
So it's the song goes, turn it off like a light switch.
Yep.
It's a nifty little Mormon trick. If you don't like something, you turn it off. If it doesn't suit you, you turn it off. So, I was turning off those gay thoughts for a long time. But, eventually, as I started masturbating and becoming not sexually active yet, but sexually active with myself, I would start, my fantasies would go from women to guys, certain guys that I was in high school with or whatever. Like I would fantasize.
Men forced.
They didn't do anything for me. Like it was, I was
a weird fantasy. It's a weird thing to fantasize about. Something that does nothing for you. That's why I'm asking. Like, was it forced?
It was forced. Yeah. I mean, it was like, this is what I think I'm supposed to do.
So you were like jerking off to women, but like didn't know it like was doing nothing. And then you turned it off like a light switch.
Exactly. You got to push it away because it's sinful.
So were you able to even jerk off?
Yeah, I mean, I was a teenager, so eventually I could get off no matter what. But it's like, what would I start with?
So
what would I start with in mind?
But you'd end with men. But tell yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it started working that way. Your brain goes to what it wants to go to, and
so you'd be thinking about a guy and a girl, but then
I'd be thinking of me with a girl, and. But as soon as I started thinking about a guy, I knew that would the brain chemicals would start really flowing, and it would be much easier to get there.
And at what age or how long after that did you? And I almost don't like this phrase anymore, because it's overused. But like, when did you like come out and just kind of was like publicly kind of like this is. Mm-hmm. This is really who I am, because that kind of sounds like you knew earlier to yourself, but obviously you had to keep this Mormon image going.
Yeah, it was stressful because, when I graduated from high school, I knew I was attracted to men. I had started, like some of my first gay experiences, I had started going to, we had a little local adult bookstore in my hometown. And I would go there with my friends and we'd pick up straight porn. I had a friend who was 18 and so he could rent a porn. Okay. So we go there, we'd rent the porn and we go watch it together, which is so gay if you think about it. We'd sit in the same room and watch a porn together. But I also noticed in the back of this bookstore, there was something else going on. There was like this little area where guys would kind of linger and hang out. And there was these doors to these different rooms. And I always was very curious, like what's going on there. So one time I went in there by myself, and I think I was still underage. I was like probably like 17. Went in there and went back there, and there was this really handsome guy. I mean, I thought he looked old, but handsome but old, but he was probably like, 30 years old or something like that.
Well, to a 17-year-old, 30s,
Right.
30-year-olds seem like they're in their grandparents.
It's like this old guy, who opened the door. He was in one of those little arcade rooms where you put the money in the machine to watch the videos, and he just stood there in the door with the door cracked open and kind of, with his head like, come on in. So I went in. Little 17-year-old self went in there. And he sucked me off. I probably came in like 2 seconds. And I left, and I was so excited and turned on by it, but at the same time, I immediately started shaming myself for it. I was like, what did I just do? And of course, this was back in the late 90s. So HIV and AIDS, it was a different time. It was kind of the end of the AIDS epidemic. It was nearing the end of that. Protease inhibitors had just come out, but I still knew guys that had full-blown AIDS and that like died during that time. So I was immediately also freaking out about STIs in particular, like, oh, I must have caught something, even though, now I know like what we did was so low risk that there was absolutely no chance that, or, almost zero chance that anything happened. But I would freak out about that. Thank God for Planned Parenthood, because we had a Planned Parenthood in Missoula, and I would go there every time I had a little freak out, which was all the time. And they were very, very cool and supportive there. But yeah, that was my first experience having sex with a guy. And then I just kept going back to that place. I met a guy who was college age and very fucking hot. Like, he was Italian, hairy, sexy. And I think after us hooking up twice, I totally fell in love with this guy. I was obsessed with him.
You confused horny with love.
Yeah, I was still like, I was a teenage boy. I was a teenage boy with very little dating experience. And, I thought the really hot sex that we had, in fact, I had sex with him in my mom's bedroom when she was out of town. I brought him into my house.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's
He was so hot.
so hot.
I remember seeing him. So like after we had a cool, like, I didn't see him for a while. He kind of blew me off. And I found out why later was because he was married. And I saw him on campus because I lived right next to the university. And I saw him on campus. Totally ignored. Like, I walked.
Exact same story so many times.
Hail as old as time, right?
All right, keep going.
Yeah, it broke my heart because I walked by him and he kind of turned away, like he didn't, like he was. I could tell he didn't want to see me there. He didn't want me to say hey while he was with his friends and his wife. So,
fuck, you guys all have great stories. I don't have stories like this.
There's more. There's more.
Let's keep. Oh, Jesus.
I could talk about my double life for a really long time.
And how did you hide? So were you in a Mormon community, Mormon family, like everything around? Because from the Mormons I know growing up, it's like everything is surround like the church. Like your whole life is the church. Okay, so it was like that.
1000%. Yeah.
How did you kind of navigate these experiences? In that setting. Because I feel like it's significantly more difficult than just for someone in a more quote unquote standard setting.
It was so stressful. I just remember being full of anxiety all the time because I was living one life and trying to hide it from my family. And I was still living at home for a little while before I moved out on my own. I remember things like, so I did meet this guy at that little bookstore who was another college age guy. He was in law school, and he took me down to the gay bar for the first time. We had one gay bar in my hometown. So he took me down there, and then after that time, I started going down there by myself. I convinced my older brother to give me his ID, his old ID, his expired one. So I was using that to get into the bar, as you know, he was 3 years older than me, so I would have been 21. But I made friends. The first people that befriended me were the group of local drag queens. So I was hanging out with the drag queens, and I remember one night there was this after hours restaurant everybody would go to after the bars, and I was there with all these, you know, girls in drag, and my sister, I have a sister who's 1 year younger than me. My sister's friends came in, and they saw me sitting at this table with all the drag queens, and I just about died. Because I knew it was going to.
Were they church going members and stuff?
They weren't, but they knew my sister was. And
okay, so you were just the information would get back around to the church, essentially. Okay, because I was like, why would they even be there if they were church members? And they would be hiding something to themselves, right?
Yeah, they were out after the bars, but also, you know, they were seeing me there with. And so it did get back to my sister, and she asked, you know, why. So here's the other funny thing. My sister was friends with a gay man at her high school.
Is that allowed?
Sarah was, at that time, she was kind of, you know, she's a little more conservative now, but she was like okay with it. This guy his name was Kyle. He was gorgeous. And he worked in retail. I think he worked at the Gap or something like that. And I just was like, I totally.
Oh shit! Wait.
He was also a drag queen. Like, he did drag on the weekends, and so my sister was like, my friends, you know, Jocelyn and Laura, they saw you at the Finnegan's restaurant with a bunch of drag queens. What were you doing with all those people? And you know, I had to make something up on the spot, and I just said, you know, like I just said, you know, I just made some friends, and you know, I saw your friend Kyle there, and I went to say hi, and he invited me to sit.
That I saw your friend Kyle there.
Shut up. I said, Sarah.
We said, what's up,
I saw Kyle. Hey, bro.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I mean, like I got really good at lying, and I had to lying on the spot. Of course, it got to my mom, and she confronted me too, asked if I was gay, and I wasn't ready to tell anybody in my family I was gay yet. Like, I could barely admit it to myself at that time. So it was something I kept hiding, you know, for a very long time. Eventually, my little brother found out. He and I became really close during a time where my mom and my sisters, they moved to San Diego. So it kind of gave me a little relief from the immediate aspect of them catching me. Uh-huh. But, you know, my brother, he still lived in town with me. The whole scandal behind him, he was dating his high school gym teacher when he was in high school. He was like 18, but a senior in high school and dating his high school gym teacher. I know. Okay. I see it. She was super hot, but she was like,
where was this gym teacher when I was in high school?
she was in her 30s, and he's 18. And so Jackie, she loved to go down to the gay bar. She had some gay friends, and when her and Nate would fight, she would come down to the gay bar to hide from him.
Oh,
and so she, of course, she came down there once and saw me down there, and she's like, I knew it. I was like, okay, we're not telling Nate, right? And she said, yeah, don't worry, I won't say anything. Well, one of her little bitchy queen friends did say something to my brother, and so then he confronted me about it, and I lied to him. I just straight out lied. I said, nope, so I'm not gay.
Just became like habitual. And you almost had it like you were always, everything you did, you had two sides to it.
I had
way
to,
you were,
yeah, I was just like
you
protecting
already
myself.
knew what you were gonna say if someone found out you were at the bar, for example, the gay bar. Like before you even went there, you already had like, okay, if someone sees me that knows me and tells my mom, and then my mom finds out, I'm gonna tell her this. Like, Jesus, man.
It became exhausting because I was having to think 10 steps ahead to, so I need to have an excuse. I need to have something I can say to somebody if they ask me or confront me about this. But, one day he and his girlfriend got in a fight and she came down to the bar and she thought that was a safe space for her. Like she thought my brother would never go down there to look for her. Well, he did one time. And I was down there and all my friends were like, dude, your brother's here. And I went to the very back where the bathroom was and I hid in the bathroom. And my friends kept checking in with me. They're like, yep, he's still here. He's still here. And I was there for like 25 minutes or so. And I'm like, I can't stay here all night. So I'm like, you know what? I gotta, I've been drinking. So I was like, liquid courage. I gotta just go confront this. And so I went up to the bar. He was standing there and I tapped him on the shoulder and he turned around and he looks at me and he turns around and ignores me. And I said, hey, Nate, can we talk? And he's like, what are you doing here? And we started fighting and then we actually got kicked out of the bar because we were screaming at each other. And it devolved to like, like when you get in fights with your siblings, even if you're adults, it kind of devolves into like.
Sorry, who's Nate again?
Nate's my brother, my little brother.
Okay, Nate's your little brother. And so he was at the gay bar looking for you.
Looking for her. Looking for her. Oh. Yeah, because they had gotten a fight.
Oh.
And she would go down to the bar to hide out from Nate, like when they'd get in a fight, thinking, he'll never come down here. Until he did.
Oh man, it had to happen.
It was one of the best things that happened because after we had that night and it was, I screamed some things at him and he screamed some things at me that, were not good, but I was being very dramatic that night. And I think I was drunk. I said something like, I'm going to kill myself. And I left. And so that night, his friend Jackie was calling me every half hour that night. And I didn't pick up the phone. And then the next morning I call him and I was like, hey, can we talk? It turns out he wasn't mad at me because I was gay. He was mad at me because I lied to him. Because he had confronted me. He was like, I don't care if you're gay. You lied to me. You told me you weren't gay when I asked you.
You know what? That's a good brother then, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I will say he's different now. He went back to the Mormon church. He got married in the church. And, now he's.
But
at the time, he was very cool. And he actually became my closest ally in my family at that time. Okay. And it was really good for me to have that. So. But you were asking about coming out, and so like that was my first experience coming out with somebody in my family.
You were forced to come out, not.
I was outed.
You were outed. And
kind of, yeah.
And so then how did the church and the family, because I'm assuming they're one and the same on some level, react to that when you were outed? So did your brother go and tell everybody? And
so actually, no, he didn't tell anybody. He kept the secret, but I had started seeing a therapist at the time to kind of get over my Mormon guilt and Mormon shame and this belief that I was going to hell. And it was, it was really weighing on me. It was really causing me a lot of anxiety and depression. So I finally sought out help with a psychiatrist and got on some good meds. And then she sent me to a therapist. And this therapist, like I owe her a lot because she spent years with me helping me to get around all of that shame and guilt and helped me to come out to my family, which was a several stage process. So it started with, I told I finally told my mom, and my mom and I had unfortunately, I thought that her head was literally going to catch on fire when I told her.
I know what you mean.
Like, I
know
imagined
exactly
that it
what
was
you
like
mean.
she was going to incinerate when I told her. And it didn't go down like that, but I did, like, to protect myself, because I didn't know how she was going to react. I was a little worried about how unhinged she might be about it. So I took her to a restaurant where my little sister worked in San Diego to come out to her at the restaurant, because I thought she has to behave here if we're in a public space. In hindsight, that probably wasn't the
Clever.
best decision. It was clever at the time, but in hindsight, had I known that it was going to go differently than that, I probably would have chose a different setting, because it was a moment. It was a tender moment where we were both crying, and she said to me, I always thought you would tell me this someday.
So she knew you had mannerisms or something that already made them suspicious.
She said, I figured that you would tell me this.
About it and praying about it behind your back.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But then she made me, so that same trip, she said, you're going to tell your sisters.
Oh boy.
My mom, I love her to death, but she doesn't like to hold a secret. It's really hard for her. And so her having to hold on to something like this and not being able to tell everybody else.
I would have so much trouble. If you were like, I'm gay, don't tell anybody, I'd be like, fuck.
So yeah, I mean, on one hand, I get that. She was like, well, what am I supposed to do with this information if it's just me? So she's like, you're going to tell your sisters. So I told them, and they had a really hard time with it. They both they cried. And it took years and years and years for both of them to come around. And, like I said, I did this in stages. My older brother, I didn't tell him until I was 25. Mm-hmm. The rest of them I told in my earlier 20s, but he was one of the last people I told, because I knew he was going to react worse than everybody else. And he did. So when I told him, he actually ran out of my house crying like a little child. He was just bawling. And he said, and I said something like, well, Seth, it's not like I told you that I'm dying of cancer. And he said, I wish you had told me that.
Damn.
So yeah.
Let me ask you this question. How would you describe the feeling when this is going on, like when everyone's kind of like appalled by you being gay? Like, did you feel dirty or gross or immoral, or like, because I know at that point maybe you were still confused. I don't know where you are now with the church, but like you were like, the church is like the high authority of morality, and like I'm one of the things it talks about as being like an abomination essentially. And like, how would you describe that feeling when because you're probably feeling it as you're about to tell your brother, and then it just exemplifies even more when he reacts that way?
I think by that time I had started to get over a lot of that stuff through therapy, through literally weekly therapy, where I was talking about these things with somebody. And she was great. She kept telling me over and over and over, God loves you. You have a relationship with him that you don't need any church for. You don't need any establishment or family to tell you how to have your relationship with your higher power, your God. And I didn't believe that at first, but it was kind of like a fake it till you make it situation, where I just kept listening to her and being open to hearing that. And over time, I started to believe it. But it took a really fucking long time to unwire all of the hard wiring that had been done to me growing up. And it's funny. My family has a little bit of amnesia now that we're in a different place. They have a little bit of amnesia about what it was like for me growing up in the church,
They always
because
My mom swears she never
Because
spanked me.
exactly. I mean, it's that level, but even worse, where they're like, my sister's just like, what do you mean? What do you mean you're traumatized by the church? What do you mean you have religious trauma? And I'm like, Sarah, like, you don't know what it was like for me. Do you remember what this?
Right.
She just I think she's kind of oblivious. There's this like the willful ignorance going on where she's just like, the church is very cool with gay people now. Well, yeah, maybe now they might be, and they still actually call it same-sex attraction. They don't call it gay. So it's like something you can fix. It's almost like a diagnosis, you have same-sex attraction. Let's fix that.
So they still think it's like you can pray the gay away type of thing?
Yeah.
They still think that to this day.
Yeah. Well, if you want to be a member in good standing, you can be gay. You can have the thoughts. You can have the attraction.
Just have to turn
but
the lights
you can't
off every time.
You can't act on it. You're not allowed to marry who you love.
Okay, so now
you're not married to have sex.
Okay, so now they're saying you can be gay. You just can't do gay.
Exactly.
Religious logic. Oh my God.
Yeah, it takes some mental gymnastics to get to that, the conclusion that it's like, okay, so you found this in between space where we're gonna stay welcoming to gay people so that we can have the membership and keep families together, but we're still not gonna say that it's okay. We're still not going to allow them to act on it.
It's almost like a PR move. It's like, when companies do PR apologies.
Mormon Church is amazing, has an amazing PR department. It is like, if you know anything about the history of the church, and they have a really, believe it or not, there's a dirty history with the Mormon Church. There's some things that they have done. If you ever read the book Under the Banner of Heaven, it's fascinating about some of the things that are, stains on the Mormon Church and the history and things that they've swept under the rug, and, the whole salamander letter scandal and all that stuff. But, there's a lot of things that the Mormon Church is kind of like the Catholic Church. They're powerful enough now and worldwide, spread worldwide enough to where they have this power where they can buy things and suppress them, buy things and hide them. The Catholic Church has bought up everything that is damning to the Catholic Church and hid it away. The Mormon Church has done the same thing. They buy documents that might be look bad on the Mormon Church, and they hide them.
So it's like a mafia.
Or a really good PR department, like you said.
Okay, because my main experience with the Mormon Church is there was two things. There was a family at my school that was Mormon in Northern California, and I was friends with the kids. And that when I was younger, I was friends with the kids, the other kids there, and like I knew they were Mormon, but like I just was like, oh, that's because we moved from South Africa where we had our own set of different churches. Like most people in South Africa are like Methodist or something. We didn't have Baptist or Protestant or anything like that. And then I came to the US and it's like now there's like, all these new versions of Christianity. And I just lumped Mormons in as like an American Christianity, basically. I didn't know anything past that. And they were fine. Because I guess it was honestly a great family, but like as a kid, you don't really see very deep. And then when I was in high school, which was like 2008, I was a senior in high school. Prop 8 happened in California.
I remember it well.
Yeah. And so like I realized two things in Prop 8 because I was like, this shit's never going to pass. Like in today's world, like this is 2008, so this is quite a while ago. And then at that point, I was like, "There's no way, like they're gonna ban gay marriage in California of all places, right?" And I was like, and I mean, I was like 17, I think, at the time in 2008, and dude, it's not that different than today's climate. The homophobes came out of the woodwork. like everywhere. And I still thought, all right, this is just a small group of people. There's no way the majority of people are going to pass this. And part of that small group was the Mormon Church, because they pushed so much of the media marketing for passing Prop 8 was paid for by the Mormon Church in Utah.
And the Catholics, believe it or not,
Really?
the Mormons and the Catholics have never really got along, except for when they come around
To hating another group together.
Political, certain political things, like, during Prop 8, I remember the Catholics and the Mormons were like strange bedfellows, where they kind of were like, okay, we're both against this, let's work together. And I remember being at a Costco in San Diego with my sister, and this was a little before Prop 8, and we were walking in to the Costco, and there was a table with some religious folks sitting there, and they had a petition board, and they said, hey, would you like to sign a petition to ban gay marriage? And my sister was like, give me that pen. Yes, absolutely.
In front of you?
Yeah. Well, no, this is before I came out. This is before I came out to her.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that would have been
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Like, fuck.
Before there would have been words after. It was after.
Okay, so this is what I realized, though, because obviously Prop 8 passed, right? And they banned gay marriage in California. And I remember one of my teachers was like, I think it's going to pass. He said, like, he doesn't want it to pass, but he thinks it's going to pass because he thinks this is one of those things where, like, we're in that phase where people have just learned to be quietly homophobic and not public. So it appears as if people are not homophobic, but they're secretly behind closed doors homophobic. And so now Prop 8's giving them an opportunity to actually do it. And like not feel like they'll be called out for it or something like that. And what I do, and so I was in a majority, I was like the one white kid, and not just in my school, in the entire school district, basically. And we had a bunch of gay kids at my high school. And so like, I was like, this was where my head was at. I've had a couple experiences like this. I was like, all these minorities in my school probably don't want to ban gay marriage because it goes against the whole ethos of, oppressing minority groups. And so I just assumed that they would be allied with this. And then it like when it was happening and everyone was talking about it, I found out very quick that the majority of the Black families in my neighborhood and Mexican families and Asian families were heavily pro banning gay marriage.
Yeah.
Shock. It was like 80% of Black people in California voted to ban gay marriage. It was an insanely high number. And I think it's related to religion because they're so religious.
I was just going to say that. Well, in Black communities, they tend to be more Baptist faith or evangelical, I think.
Oh, okay.
And so
my family's not religious, so I didn't know. I was so uneducated on the whole thing. But I was,
and then Latino people tend to be more Catholic, right?
And
so
I'll give you another example of something like that happening. When I was dancing in Florida, a bunch of South Africans came to my gay strip club that I was working at, right? And they saw my chest tattoo, which only South Africans will know, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, he's from South Africa!" And they came up and talked to me. Young gay dudes in their early 20s, flamboyantly gay. They're working on the ships, and they were porting in Florida, and we started talking, and my head is like, because with South Africans, especially white ones, you never fucking know which one they're going to be. They're either going to be super progressive or super conservative. Because of the racist history there. And so like I'm always on my toes a little bit whenever I meet another white South African, or even here in the US when I tell people I'm a white South African, because I don't know if you saw what happened to me like 3 weeks ago. I got canceled on Twitter completely because everyone thought I was racist because I'm a white South African.
I didn't see that, but I'm so sorry.
4.5 million views on Twitter. It blew over real quick because like once people realized that it was like you can't just do that. But like,
yeah,
what these young gay dudes, I assumed they're young, gay. There's no way they're that kind of white South African. Within 20 minutes, they started saying like specifically colloquially racist words that only like white South Africans that are racist would say to me. And I remember like calling my dad after him, like these young gay dudes from South Africa were like horribly pro-apartheid, which makes no sense because apartheid was also anti-gay, extremely anti-gay.
Right.
And like, but I've learned to like decouple that a little bit just because of what I saw with the Mormons. Because like the same thing happened with the Mormons. The first the family that I knew before Prop 8, lovely family, didn't know. Like that's what they believed. And like,
Yeah. And there is something, I think, if you look at the history of America, where different groups get their rights and all of a sudden they forget what it was like to not have them. Maybe I'm going out on a little too far on a limb here, but
I don't know.
I think
was
that
never a group that didn't have a right, so I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, look at let me give you a very recent example of this with trans people and the LGBT community.
Yes,
they're supposed to be part of the LGBT community, but it's amazing to me how many gay men are just like, that's their fight.
Well, you know what argument I hate is like they shouldn't be part of LGB because LGB is sexuality and T is a gender thing. And I'm like, I guess technically, but like, I don't give a fuck.
LGBT was more, has always been more about community of people who have been marginalized in the, as sexual deviants, right? People that stray from normal sexuality in any way. And that can be sexual identity too. So, that's what I think what the original LGBT community has always been about, people who are different than, your typical cis straight person.
And like because I feel I'm a part, like I have the flag. I'm a part of the LGBT. This is my community too. Like, I don't feel like an ally. I feel like I'm a part of it. And the way I see our community, it's like like you just said, any marginalized group will stand up. If Black people were being marginalized, we will stand up for them. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, if anything, this is the community that's the best at doing that, at being like, even if you're not technically like a part of the queer movement, like we support you. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't like, and that's
true.
Of how I feel about it. Like, it's like, I don't,
because we deeply feel what it's been like. Most of us have deeply felt like what it's been like to be marginalized or to be I'm sorry, the word's escaping me, discriminated against, basically. Discriminated because we're different. And, of course, there are different levels of discrimination and different situations. I think it's harder for people of color because you can't, if you're gay, at least you can kind of fly under the radar a little bit with your sexuality if you act a certain way or,
True.
dress a certain way or act a certain way. There were ways,
don't get caught
especially
with a dick in your mouth, and then you're good.
Exactly.
Like,
But then there are certain things that you just can't hide, like the color of your skin. And so, I think most gay people know what it's like to feel, to be that and to feel that. And we have a tremendous amount of empathy for people who have to live that kind of life.
So
where they're marginalized.
Let me tell you, so like I'm not marginalized very much because even though I'm in the queer community, I'm very straight passing. So like generally when I go to the store, people aren't like, look at that, gay guy over there, like, and then throw a slur in there. But like they don't do that because I'm not, like, I kind of just look like a dude. If anything, I look like I'm a homophobe. And like
that's hot.
Right? But like most people have no idea that I'm bi or work in the gay adult content world unless I tell them. It's super difficult for them to basically see it. But what I have noticed is I think if I was like flaming and whatever, and then people would almost be less upset about it. And today, like right now, because then they're like, oh yeah, he's gay, whatever. But when someone that looks like me says and has a girlfriend and all this stuff, and then they're like, they can't handle it. And it's like, and I've noticed it especially
Because
with women.
people like it when you fit in a box.
Right.
You know what I mean? I know what that guy is. I've figured him out. I've stereotyped him. People like it when you're in a nice little neat box, but that's why, younger generations are more used to this more queer concept of sexual expression where it's very fluid, right? My generation, it was more like pick a category and stay there.
And people tried to make me do that. People tried to make me do it, especially in the adult content world. They were like, you need to do this or this or this. And I tried for like, I'm not kidding you, like a week. I was like, okay, I'll just be like,
I'm gonna be the gay guy for a week.
I started off with gay content, so I'll keep doing that. And about a week later, I was like, I can't do this. I was like, yeah, I'll keep making the content, but like, I'm not gonna be like, I'm gay, like, I'm not gonna pretend.
And to be honest, there's enough of that out there. There really is enough of that out there where in this business, you want to do something that sets you apart. And so if you're making different types of content,
because every single one of us is so different that it's like the least work to set yourself apart is just be yourself. And
100%.
And I'm so glad I'm so glad I didn't listen to any of those people, because what I'm doing now I much more like. And two, the other thing that I wanted to touch on that you said way earlier. And by the way, I know it's 7:45. I don't know what time you got to leave.
Oh, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah,
let's keep talking.
I'm loving this conversation. You talked about the drag queens being kind of like, come here, you're okay here,
yeah,
right?
Very welcoming. Yeah,
I had the exact same experience coming out as 30 years old, something like that. And I wasn't like, my coming out experience is so different than most gay dudes because I'm not gay. I'm clearly not straight either, but it was easier for me to kind of do what you did, compartmentalize, whatever. I can't never say
compartmentalize.
because I'm also attracted to women. I just stayed over there. You know what I mean? And I just paid attention to that side of myself. So I never felt like I was hiding anything except for one gay dream I had when I was 15. And
just the one?
Just one. And I had the same kind of shame
that
you talked about, but just on a much smaller scale because it was just one thing. It wasn't like all the time. and then when I was like, and it started with drag queens and trans women, where like I was like, why am I feeling stuff? And then I was like, but a drag queen, I always say the drag queens I'm so protective of them.
Me too.
Like,
they're very special.
They're like the gatekeepers. They're the high priestesses of gaydom.
Yeah, it's it's drag queens, DJs, and porn actors in the gay community. Those are the top of the food chain.
Right. And I look up to drag queens like they communicate to the outer, like the heavens for us. Like, the Vikings had like those weird, their versions of drag queens. Like they would stand around a fucking like in like a big stone circle and stuff. That's what drag queens are to me. In like a good way. Like because if it wasn't for drag queens, I don't think I would have ever been as eager to explore this side of myself.
Yeah.
There's something, they represent something that I can't explain. And like, I attribute it to like a higher power thing almost. Like they're like a caricature of sexuality almost, or even identity fluidity or anything. It doesn't have to be sexual necessarily. And my name Crush was given to me by a drag queen. And at the
I love
time,
that.
I had no idea what Crush would turn into. And I still don't. I still to this day.
Do you
people are
remember
like,
who the drag queen is? Have you been in touch with that person? You should thank them.
Anne Marie was her name.
Oh my God, like Anne Marie the singer.
and like I don't know her very well. Like I danced at a club that she worked at for a few months, and I wouldn't even say she's like the most influential drag queen in my life, but like she just like I told her my name was Chris when I gave her my name to dance on stage, and she heard Crush, and she was drunk, and she said, "We got a new daddy in town. Everybody welcome Crush Daddy."
And it stuck. The rest is history.
I get okay. And so, like, I don't know. It's symbolic to me, like that a drag queen gave it to me.
Yeah, it was like a rite of passage.
And to this day, people are like, "What does Crush Daddy mean? What's the meaning?" But I'm like, I don't fuck. It's some drunk drag queen gave it to me. And
Ask Anne Murray.
Ask Anne Murray. I love hearing that story of drag queens because it's like every gay dude I know has like a similar story about drag queens basically being like, "Oh, you're not being yourself over there. Come over here and we'll let you be yourself."
Yeah,
and
it's true. And
that's
they're
why I
kind
hate
of
especially when gay people are against drag queens. I don't care if you don't like drag shows, that's fine. But the whole like rejection of it, that I can't stand.
There's something I think to be said there with a little bit of internalized homophobia or being afraid of that feminine part of yourself that you're, that look how comfortable they are with that side of themselves. And I'm not that comfortable with that side of myself, and it scares me. I think there's something about a little bit of internalized homophobia when somebody says, "I don't like drag queens," or,
right.
Yeah, which is different than saying I don't like drag shows or I don't like drag performance or whatever. But drag queens have been
like, I don't like RuPaul's Drag Race. It's like, it's not that I hate it.
Okay,
it's not
now those are fighting words.
It's not entertaining to me to watch. I know a lot of the girls; they're awesome. I love them, but like, that doesn't mean I'm against RuPaul and think it should be taken down or don't understand why people like it. No, I get it. Like, I understand why people like it. It's just not the type of thing I watch, and like even the show I'm in, it's like
it's not for everybody.
Really, the thing I watch, to be honest. But like, yeah, no, I love that story that you told, and then I know you're sober. You said 3 years, right?
It'll be 2 years this April.
2 years.
I had 4 years before that, but 2023 I had a return to use that was pretty bad. It lasted for about a year.
Nice way to say it.
Return to use. I found that that's the proper way to say. You don't say relapse anymore. Apparently, that's offensive to some people. I guess not.
Wait.
In the therapeutic community, relapse. I mean, if you go to an AA room or an NA or CMA room, yes, they say relapse. Absolutely. If you're talking to somebody in the therapeutic community, they say return to use. Because apparently relapse has
therapists and psychiatrists.
If you're in a mental health setting, you're going to say return to use versus relapse, because relapse has a stigma around it, I guess, which I can see that.
I don't, but maybe I'm just not.
Again, it's different. The different room.
I've never even heard this term, return to use.
I have been immersed in the mental health world because of, my own substance abuse issues, but also my mental health issues for decades now. So I'm very
I have an open mind. My initial reaction was to reject it. Convince me that I'm wrong, and I'm open to being wrong. I just know that like because to me relapse is like whatever, like like
Yeah.
there's no offense to it in any way. Like no one would ever offend me if they're like you were.
And
relapsed.
honestly, I don't take any offense if somebody says relapse versus return to use. But if you're trying to be very politically correct, you would say return to use.
But
And
why,
like I
though?
said, the audience.
What's the
It depends on
argument?
the audience.
What's the argument
just
for it being more politically correct? Because they mean the same thing.
Relapse has kind of a negative stigma or negative connotation around it. It's some people associate it with a failure of will or a moral failing, like the old school thinking around relapse
A moral
versus
failing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I can kind of see that. There is okay. That's like when people have tried to tell me that relapse is a part of sobriety, and I don't like that either. Because
I don't like that either.
Yeah, I'm like, not because I'm a one-chip wonder. Like I got sober once, never relapsed, but I don't say that in a big-headed way. Going, I'm so good at sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
I think my ego is so big that that I can't return to use and come back. And my fear of that has sometimes been the only reason why I didn't go out.
It's good to have a healthy fear of relapse or returning to use because you don't want to become riddled with anxiety around it where it's crippling. But I think, having a good, healthy fear of, I could every day I wake up, I have to make a commitment to myself to stay away from drugs and alcohol.
Okay.
You do, and some days are easier than others, but you have to wake up and say,
this is not a life commitment. This is a today commitment.
It is. It's both. I think it's like, yeah, I have to do this daily thing for the rest of my life. It's like I have a disease.
I can't handle that.
I have a disease, and I have to give myself my medicine every day, and you treat it that I treat it that way. I treat it like I have this disease. My brain has a dysfunction with the reward pathway, and I'm different than a non-addict. I have to give it that reverence and honor the fact that this thing could take me out, and the next time I don't know when I'm going to come back or if I will.
Yeah, and I think I got unlucky in the same sense that I got sober 2016, which was pretty much when fentanyl hit the market, like really hard. Like obviously it's been there a little bit before that, but it was like everything had fentanyl in it, and right around 2016. And I got sober, and I was like in a halfway house, and going to like those like tons of meetings. I was in LA, and there's like a meeting on every corner in LA, and I would make friends with people because I was trying to leave my old life. So I like got a new phone, deleted all my contacts, and only had the new contacts from after I got sober, besides like my mom, but like, and everybody died when they went back out. It was like, because they would do the same dose, and now it had fet in it, and it was it was every like I when I took my 10-year trip last week, one of my old friends, one of the ones who survived, called me, and he survived because he stayed sober. It wasn't because he went out and like didn't die and came back. He's also stayed sober 10 years, and we just went through the Rolodex of people who didn't make it. And we were talking for hours because of that time period, like 2016 to 2018, it was like everyone we knew died. Like everyone we knew died. And there was people with 6 years sober that died. And like, there was a guy in our meeting with 33 years who went out and died the first day that he went out. And he didn't even overdose. He fell down some stairs. And I think seeing all
count the ways that you can die.
Yeah, seeing that in my first 2 years of sobriety scared the piss out of me. I'm gonna be honest. It scared the piss out of me. And like, so like, I don't see relapse as like, you know, like, oh, you know, it's, I get back on the horse type of thing. It's like, I see it as I'll die. And I was that kind of junkie. I was like a, you know, go balls to the walls kind of junkie. And like, so I think I got lucky in that sense, but unlucky that like, you know, all my friends died. Like every single one of them basically died. And I
think
I always just kind of wonder, like, if I got sober in a different time or in a different setting, would it have been different? So I try really hard not to have an ego about my sobriety, because, like, it's like sexuality. I'm like, you know, your way of coming out or being gay can be different than the way I did it. I'm not gonna say that the way I got sober is the best way, because my 10 years is proof, because I could go out tomorrow. But like, you know, I still, that's why I go by the 1 day at a time thing.
Yeah.
It's no different to me today than it was the first day I got sober. And I am so glad that I came out after being sober and started this line of work after and not only got sober, but had been sober for a while.
Yeah.
Because this is all like, your stories are crazy. And like, I know you weren't sober at 17. You know, so like, how I'm gonna ask, but I feel like I already know the answer. Like, did that exemplify your use, or was your use, you know, almost fueled by a lot of these demons that you were dealing with the church and with your family and with coming out and like, you know, so like, like, how did those two come together a little bit?
I mean, I don't want to blame everything on it'd be so nice to blame everything on my family and my mom and the Mormon church and say that that's the whole reason why I'm an addict. However, I have to take some responsibility for my actions. And also, you know, yeah, I sometimes you just get the genes, you know, like on both sides of my family, I have addiction. My grandfather died of lung cancer. He smoked himself to death. My grandfather and grandmother on my mother's side were both alcoholics, functioning, if you want to use that word, in terms of like, but every night they would get drunk. And on my dad's side, my dad's father died of cirrhosis of the liver. My cousin on my dad's side, she drank herself to death and was on the wait list for a kidney and a new liver, but she didn't make it because she didn't get a transplant in time. So very strong on both sides. And had the rest of my family not been Mormon, my immediate family, who knows who else in my family would also be an addict. But because, you know, Mormons don't drink and don't smoke
so that's
and
a hard rule
don't do drugs.
So it's like Islam. They're not allowed to drink at all.
Yeah, it's called, in the Mormon faith, it's called the Word of Wisdom, and it's very heavily regarded as, you know, in fact, they put it up there with sins of adultery and murder. Like, it's that serious.
The sins, so the sins have a ranking system?
Not officially, but they've done surveys at like BYU University where they've asked the college students there, here's a list of sins, put them in order of least to worst to least. And the majority of individuals put drinking, word of wisdom violations, drinking, smoking, drugs, as above adultery and murder.
Above murder? I mean, adultery's up there too, but like, Jesus.
It's pushed so heavily in the Mormon church that it's almost an identity thing where people take this pride in this is part of our culture. We don't do that.
It's not the worst word of wisdom, to be honest.
I mean,
don't murder, don't cheat on your wife. Like, I kind of agree with all those things.
Yeah. But it's just interesting how you know, the mental gymnastics that must have gone into putting these other sins right up there with drinking and smoking and doing drugs, you know.
I wonder if it's because they thought murdering and cheating was probably a more likely thing for them to do. So they were like, because you know how people do that.
It's just so emphasized. It is so emphasized as being so bad, you know, that, like I said, it's almost become this cultural identity thing where, you know, you saw the Book of Mormon, the play. There's a lot of funniness in there, especially if you're a Mormon.
My education comes about the Mormon Church, by the way.
The little Starbucks cup dancing, you know, coffee is another one that's against the word of wisdom. You don't drink coffee. But also now it's funny because
the subscription, Jack. I have not been saying thank you to the subscription. Sorry, I've been so engaged. But
no problem.
Keep going. So in the Mormon Church, with the word, so the words of wisdom are like their 10 commandments or 10.
It's basically, you know, so Joseph Smith, who was the first prophet of the Mormon Church, he was the one that received the revelations that he was the prophet. All the other churches on this planet were wrong. He was, and God was going to give him the actual gospel of Christ. And so
he's not a new Jesus. He's just a better prophet for Jesus.
They still believe in the prophets of the Bible. Okay. It's not that they're saying like, you know, reject everything before. The Bible, they say, is as true as it was translated correctly. So they believe in it, but there's like this wiggle room where, okay, we can play a little a la carte here with the Bible because maybe some of this stuff wasn't translated correctly. But the Book of Mormon, which is what Joseph Smith found buried in this side of this mountain. And then it was on these golden plates, which he translated with these devices that were like glasses that, you know, were blessed by God so that he could see the ancient characters in English and write them down. No, they were called the Urim and Thummim. All these things that I still remember, these devices to help him translate these golden plates. But he translated the whole golden plates and it became the Book of Mormon. And then after the Book of Mormon, there's also other books that he wrote called the Pearl of Great Price is another one. I think that's where the word of wisdom sits in that doctrine. And it was a more modern day revelation to Joseph Smith from God saying, you know, you should treat your body like a temple. You should not take substances, coffee, tea, tobacco.
Wow, caffeine's off the list too.
Coffee. Although when I grew up, it was caffeine, period. But now modern day Mormons drink caffeinated soda, which I find wild because we were told no Pepsi, no Coca-Cola, all of it's bad. Here I'm drinking Dr. Pepper because I love it. But, you know, my mom drinks Mountain Dew like crazy. She loves that stuff. I'm like, Mom, what happened to
mom fucking with a skateboard drinking Mountain Dew?
She literally chugs that stuff all day long. And I'm like, oh my God.
All right.
But yeah, I mean,
okay, but it doesn't sound like the worst list of rules to follow.
Yeah, and I mean, now also we know some science behind addiction, and that these things that, you know, way back then it was dictated to, you know, Joseph Smith through God that these were bad for you, but they didn't really know that back then. So there's something to be said that, like, yeah, maybe he had some foresight that these things were not so good for you. Also, the backstory to that, apparently his wife used to have to clean up after all the men that would come in, and Joseph Smith would have these meetings with about the church, and tobacco spittoons, whiskey cup, you know, like she'd have to clean up all this mess like it was a saloon in her own house. And I think
these rules of the church. So
I think she complained to her husband enough about it to where.
Oh my God,
that's the backstory that I heard around that.
Have so much control over straight men. It's hilarious, dude. I believe the Virgin Mary story. is just a woman lying really well, and her dad or whoever didn't want like the community to think that she had sex too young or pre-marriage or whatever, so he went with it too.
Well, yeah, let's go with this immaculate conception thing. That's a brilliant idea.
And so like and so you know how you have to build a lie on top of a lie, like I'm sure you have a lot of experience with that. So you then
Guilty.
So you start a church,
A whole faith around it. And people go to war and die over this, and you know,
when really she just
crazy.
got knocked up. She went out, she got a little drunk, she got knocked up, she didn't want to tell her dad the truth. Much more
wild.
believable story to be honest.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm not anti-religion. A lot of people think I'm also not atheist or anything.
Yeah.
I was raised atheist because I think my parents are too smart for their own good. They're those kinds of atheists, you know, where they need logic.
Yeah.
And I think I went with that my whole life. And then obviously when I got sober, I was introduced to the higher power thing for real for the first time. And now I'm kind of like, I even look at, because I used to be anti-Christian, anti-Islam, anti-Mormon, all that, and none of it logically makes sense to me like now. But like, when you look at these set of rules that they all have, and I don't know much about Joseph Smith, but I'm assuming that in a lot of ways he's regarded in similar ways to like Jesus is in Christianity, as just a really good dude. And like, he had some principles that lead to a better, happier, healthier life. And a lot of churches, I think, have gone away from that. So like now I separate church and religion.
Yeah.
Where like, I tell Christians all the time when I'm like, you should be more Christ-like. Because what you're doing right now, like, especially when they're hating gays, I'm like, I don't think that's what Christ said or did. He was very inclusive. He was very, you don't judge the whore. You don't judge, you don't judge, you love thy neighbor like you love thyself. It doesn't matter if they're gay, black, whatever. It's like religion started using those principles as a form of attack. And the ironic thing is the core of that religion is actually quite good usually. Like if you look at the rules here in the Mormon Church, the rules in Christianity, I think are actually not the worst rules to follow if you do it properly. You know, it's like the 12 steps of AA. It's like, it's a great set of rules to follow. And then you follow these rules like a dancing monkey, and you don't make your own decisions. And you have a better life. You end up happier. You know?
There's doctrine, like you said, there's doctrine, and then there's the actual organized religion piece of that. And I think the organized religion piece of that is what I reject completely.
I agree.
I think that everybody should, there are teachings out there. There are, you could call them stories, whatever you want to call the Bible. It's stories that have been passed down since the beginning of time, where they're moral stories. They're some of them are fables, some of them are here's something that happened, here's a better way to live your life, this is a situation where you could help somebody, or you could do something good for your neighbor.
It doesn't have to be
these
true.
Are teachings.
I hate it when
they don't have to be true.
When atheists do that, I'm like, it's like the boy cries wolf story. It doesn't have to be fucking true. That
it teaches a lesson. It's a
lesson that
it's
it
a
teaches
good
is the point.
Lesson, right?
And I think,
and not all
LGBTQ communities like starting to build its own doctrine sometimes. I call it the gatekeeper, spelled Gayayt. Keepers.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because like
Gatekeeper.
yeah, because I told you when I came out, and I was just like, when people were like, "Are
You know, there's a gay agenda, right?
Again, yeah,
You know, there's an actual gay agenda.
Wait, you're not fucking around.
I'm teasing.
Oh, I was like, wait, where's this?
The gay agenda.
Where's the doctrine?
The gay agenda. Go to brunch on Sunday.
For me, it was
Never
more
wear
like-
white shoes after Labor Day.
I will argue that there are gay agenda like idiosyncrasies that do exist. Like there was a guy that commented on one of my videos recently, and I was interviewing a guy that was on the show, on the Strip Down show with me, and we were just talking about internalized homophobia, which the exact same thing you just touched on.
Mhm.
And this guy says that men should act like men and not feminine. And it was a gay guy.
Mm.
And I was like, you're not being a man when you say that. Like, because that, like, to me, whether you're feminine or masculine has nothing to do with being a man. And, you know, it's like, to me, it's like the same thing when I kind of like came out as I'm confused or whatever. And all these gay dudes were like, you're not bi, you're just gay for pay. You know, because most of the sex you have is somehow monetized. And then I was like, I had a conversation with Jacoby, who's one of the largest creators, and he was like, all porn is blank for pay. So like, I don't understand what the argument is there. And like, and then I was like, why are you gatekeeping like the labels? You know, why are you gatekeeping being gay? Like, you're saying that you can only, like, if you're gay, that means you have to like these things, do these things, you know, because I know gay men that like NASCAR and like, you know, working on their cars, and they wear, you know, they just wear Timbs, they don't groom, whatever. And
it goes
like,
back to that thing you were saying earlier about having, you know, there's lots of versions of gay, and there is a certain type of gay man, I think, that has this very narrow version of what it means to be gay, and it threatens them and their gayness when there are other versions running around there. Then they're still gay, but they don't act like them, they don't look like them. You know, that threatens. What about everything that I went through to have to be this person, and you're out there acting like a straight guy? Even if it's authentic, you know, it's threatening.
So what is like, you can apply that to straight. What is straight? Like, I don't know. Like, there's so many versions of, like, look at the LA straight guy, right? An LA straight guy, you wouldn't, like, I thought that everybody was gay when I was in LA, you know,
or European, certain European straight guys, you know.
And that's the only phobia I think I really ever truly had, was metrophobia.
The fear of metrosexuals.
I was deeply appalled by straight men that like groom too much and like, you know, spent a lot of time on their outfits and their look. And like, I was totally fine if a gay dude did it, but like, I had such a I don't know why I had such a problem if a straight dude like got.
Was it because you felt like, well, if he's doing all these things, then maybe that means that I have to too? Probably. I realized at some point it's ridiculous. Like I'm saying it's like, I'm not judging a gay dude for being feminine because he's gay, but I'm judging a straight dude for being feminine because he's straight. So I'm doing the exact same thing that I think is not okay to do it to another group, if that makes sense. It's like the same thing that, it's like, I don't like it, you know, like I treat everyone with respect. Like it's very difficult, but even if I strongly disagree or hate someone or disagree with their political beliefs or something, I don't fight them by hating them back. And that's a very difficult thing to do because it's very human, right? If someone hates you or hates something that you like, then you want to hate it back. And I learned it as a kid, but it took me to be an adult to really adopt it fully and fully understand it. But it's what Nelson Mandela did.
in South Africa. Like he didn't hate white people and the apartheiders and the Afrikaners, and even if they were still, after everything, conservative, whatever, he accepted them with open arms and even protected some of the things they cherished, which was the whole story with the rugby.
Yeah.
That they tried to abolish Springbok rugby, which at the time was like our religion, white people in South Africa. And now it's just South Africa's religion. But like at the time, it was like our, royal family were the Springboks.
Gotcha.
And they tried to abolish it. And it was kind of like a payback thing. Like, you took all our rights away for 100 years. Now we're going to take something that you love away from you now that we're in power. And it's very understandable. But Nelson Mandela literally went against 90% of the population who favored abolishing it and said, we can't do that. We will be doing to them what they did to us. And we are not trying to just reverse things.
Yeah.
And that is so hard to do. Like if you disagree with someone politically, right? Or a homophobe or a racist or whatever, it is so hard not just to hate them back.
We're experiencing that now with the polarization of our political system and how, I think we were talking about this earlier too, that the two sides just can't talk to each other anymore. You said Houston, it's kind of a different little environment here where, people leave you alone. If that's what you want to do.
We don't live in a bubble here. So if you're in a place like Orange County, everyone's Republican, right? And if you're in a place like Santa Monica, everyone's liberal. So like there's no communication.
There's no mix. Yeah.
So you don't learn to like live together. So
right alongside somebody that's different, right?
And basically everyone has to tone it down a little bit to do that. Where in like LA, you can be as fucking ridiculously liberal as you can be communist and no one cares, right? But here in Houston, it's like you can be progressive or you can be conservative, but we are fucking neighbors, so we have to like talk and like, and so you get less extremes of both sides here.
Yeah,
and I'm still
it's true. We have these little bubbles.
I'm still very liberal and very progressive, but I just feel like I like both sides better, even though I agree with one side more. I just like both sides better here than I do in like others, like super red states or super blue states, because it's just more reasonable, like the way Houston dealt with the homeless problem. Because if it didn't work, the city would swing the other way. Like they would kick whoever did it out of office. Like they got rid of most of the homeless people here, not by shipping them away. By the way, they actually had to allocate the money they raised and make it effective, because if they didn't, there would be hell to pay. And they gave like tax benefits to companies who hired people out of prison. They identified what makes people homeless, and then they offered the community incentives to like hire them and so that they can get a job. And that's usually a big factor, is like you can't get work anymore. Then comes the mental health issues, then comes the drug addiction. So they started with like, oh, we'll just give you tax credits if you hire people who have mental health issues, and the state will pay to cover up your tattoos. So if you like were a skinhead and you got like Nazi tattoos and stuff, and then you changed and you wanted to like, leave that life, you can apply with the state, and the state will use tax dollars to pay to cover up your gang or racial tattoos so that you can get a job.
That's wow.
I had one of my sponsees here went through that program. And
I need a cover up. Should I say something? Should I say
just get like a Sharpie and put a swastika over it?
Oh my God. I would be canceled in a minute.
My first sponsee in Houston was a skinhead, a former skinhead, fresh out of prison, like 1 week out of prison, came to my meeting, asked me to sponsor him. My initial reaction was, absolutely not. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I already look like and I had a shaved head at the time. I was like, I already look like I'm the leader of your gang. Now you want to be seen in a coffee shop reading a book with me? Like, no. And my sponsor was like, you have to help him. And I was like, why?
Mhm.
He's like, that's what we do. And my
That's true.
ex-wife, my wife at the time, when I was married to another woman, was Jewish. And I brought it up to her being like, can you believe this skinhead asked me to sponsor him? And she literally, she was so much better of a person than me. She was like, well, as a Jewish person, I'll tell you, I'd rather have a sober skinhead on the street than a methed up one. So even if he doesn't change his beliefs, I would rather, so I want you to sponsor him, and I'd rather you sponsor him than somebody else. And so I did. And dude, to this day, that dude was my best sponsee ever. I think he was dumb. Like, he was born a crack baby, and like, so like, he wasn't smart enough to like outthink the program, like, which I've done, and I know a lot of people do. I'm not saying I'm smart, but like, I like to think I know better, or like look for loopholes around things.
Mm-hmm.
And then two, like, because he had so much going against him, he had a swastika the size of my neck tattoo on his neck. It was like, it was this big swastika right here. Like, he had so much going against him that like he literally had he had to fully do it. Like, there was no like he could do it half-ass it or anything. Like, and he was on probation. He had warrants in 7 states or something crazy. And like, yeah, and like, dude, it was insane. His mom just died. Like, it was insane. Like, and then I remember I was like helping this old lady that didn't have a car get to the meeting. It was like my service work. But like every once in a while, I'd be like, I don't want to help this old hag. Like, she's getting like a little bit, because she was like definitely like using me a little bit, you know, like, pity me. I can't get to the meeting. Can you take me every day? And this motherfucker was like, when I wouldn't take her, he would take her. And I was just like, God damn, dude, like, I gotta step up my spirituality. Like, I can't.
This guy is outshining me.
I can't have a skinhead being a better person than me. And like,
that's wild.
Yeah, that dude ended up like, went back to college, got his tattoos covered up, went back to college, graduated top of his class as a mentally disadvantaged person, and went off and became a mechanical engineer at like a freighting company. Like,
that's great.
And now he's
I do believe in second chances. You know, second chances are. I've had second chances. I've had third chances. You know, we haven't even talked about my sobriety journey and how I was homeless at one time, and you know, I was living on the streets literally for 3 months in the winter of DC, and you know,
fun.
Oh, fuck that! Fuck that.
Stories, that's the part where we have the most in common. I was homeless for 3 months in Colorado in the winter.
Oy vey, never again.
I slept in
I like heat. I like running water. Like showers.
Do you have a perpetual fear of being broke?
I definitely have to play the tape forward whenever I have that thought in my head that says, maybe you can go out and use once and stop yourself and get away with it. And then I have to play the tape forward as they say, you know, okay, what would tomorrow look like? Would I be able to really stop? No, you can't. Once you start, you know, I started when I had my return to use back in 2023. I started with a one night, what I thought was going to be a slip, and it lasted for a whole year. And every day I would tell myself, today's the day I'm going to stop. One more night. I'm going to have one more night. It's going to be the best. It's going to be a blowout, or it's going to be so much fun that I won't feel like I need to ever do this again.
I never thought of this until you just said that. using is the exact same as one day at a time.
Yeah.
And
In a way, you're not thinking, you can't even think that far ahead. You're in survival mode when you're using. I mean, literally, you're not just, situationally, but also your body is in survival mode. You're in flight or flight. You're literally all the chemicals, adrenaline and dopamine, and, your sympathetic nervous system is in high drive. And that's where a lot of the paranoia and things like that come from, is you've activated parts of your brain that are supposed to keep you safe. So you start to think everything's a threat.
Yeah,
And
there's
it's
actually
just,
science
it's
behind that.
survival. It's do or die every day. It feels like life or
There's
death.
actually science behind that, where they showed that when someone's in active addiction, if they do a brain scan on that person, that the cerebral cortex is significantly less active, and the the reptilian brain, like the one deep in the middle, is like
The
much
limbic
more
system.
active. Yeah, and it's like
Your amygdala is the fear center of your brain, but it also has some emotional components to it and tie in with the limbic system. And your
You're a
limbic system,
biologist, you really probably know your shit. Sorry. It's just like,
I
what
know
did
some
say?
things. I know some things.
You're the right person to ask.
They nicknamed the limbic system the reptilian part of the brain. It's a very primitive part of the brain. A lot of our emotions and fears, thirst, hunger, all of that stuff has ties in with the limbic system. And the amygdala is the fear center. And when people get really paranoid off of drug use, it's often a lot of it's sleep deprivation that kind of kicks this, some of it's activation of the sympathetic nervous system, but it kicks you into this high fight or flight mode where everything, your brain is scanning for threats. Everything, everybody, I used to think that my family, my friends, everybody was out there to get me. Anybody that I'd like pick up and use with, they were plotting, they were, conspiring to.
Life was a game. And that you had to
it felt like it kind of felt like a video game
that you had to beat. Yeah, you had to it's not even like that I was consciously going like everyone's against me. It was more like, how do I beat this game to get what I want? And that approach to life is very narcissistic, which is what we are as addicts. I think when you're that part of your brain is most activated is when you're super narcissistic, because you're just thinking, how do I satisfy these basic needs of myself? And then you look at the world as like a playing field of like, how do I use what's in front of me in order to satisfy those needs? And so that, of course, you're not going to think about how it affects other people, because you're only thinking about how to satisfy your own needs. And so like drugs just happens to be the easiest thing that I think exists to satisfy your needs. Because think about it, like with like pills, you just put the pill in, you feel your need is satisfied. If you needed to make $1 million, like that's a lot harder. So like you're just kind of.
I heard this. I heard this in a movie once. It was about the opioid epidemic, and this company, Matthew Broderick was in it. I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was about Big Pharma and how they had designed opioids to be, way stronger than they needed to be to keep people addicted to them. And something he said in that movie would just like hit me like a ton of bricks, because it was around when I was trying to get sober this last time. And he said, all humans are trying to do two things in life. It's you can boil it down to these two things. You're either running towards pleasure or running away from pain.
Fuck, you're right.
And all of our behaviors can basically be explained by running away from pain or running towards pleasure. And that also summarizes addiction in a nutshell too.
Have you thought more into that, or did he talk more about it? Is there a healthy way to do both of those things, or is it something we should actively avoid thinking like?
Well, I think it just comes down to like, what coping mechanisms are you using to run towards pleasure or run away from pain? A real easy one and a reliable one not the best solution, is to turn to drugs. They're a great escape, right? We know how to numb the pain. We know how to escape from difficult emotions. You pick up a drug, and all of a sudden, all the good feel good chemicals flood your brain, and you don't care about what X, Y, or Z anymore, right?
It's definitely the best way when
for a
you're
moment.
feeling when you're not feeling the way you want to feel different. It's definitely the easiest way, in my opinion.
It's the easiest way. It's the
Yeah.
quickest and easiest way. It's not the best way, but it's
Not the
definitely
best. By best, I
Yeah.
mean the most guaranteed.
it's
to work.
efficient. It's very effective and
Yeah, because
efficient.
even like if something like sex, right? Like if you wanted to have sex, it's still harder than drugs. Like no matter how you put it, like it's harder to get, it's harder to do.
You have to pick up Grinder. You have to deal with a
Right.
bunch of flakes. You have
Yeah, it's like there's a whole process where like drugs are just you do them, like you just do them real fast. You know,
Once
you
you're
do a
there.
shot,
But-
it doesn't matter which drug, like they're all easy and fast.
the real drug is dopamine. The real drug is our own endogenous chemicals that are released when we take a drug or have sex or eat food or do any of the things that we do to ensure our survival. The real drug is dopamine, and that's the one that it's harder for people who have to fight against that for things that you need to do to live, like eat or we are all sexual creatures. We all have to eat food, but we also get dopamine hits from doing those things because they've ensured our survival.
Have you dealt with
Species.
eating disorders or sex addiction, or is that not part of your story?
Not eating, but my mom has dealt with some eating, weight issues and food issues throughout her life. So, yet another thing in my family that's an addictive behavior,
Well, addiction is genetic. I believe that. I do believe it's a genetic. Like it doesn't matter your circumstances. You're born with it. The circumstances.
The best way I ever heard addiction explained from a neurobiological perspective was we're gambling with our reward system.
Ooh.
Think the scenario is the old fashioned gumball machine. You put a quarter in, you turn the crank, and a gumball comes out.
Mhm.
Okay, so think of the gumball as dopamine, and every time we go to that machine, a person who is a non-addict will put a quarter in, turn the crank, and they'll get one gumball every single time. Okay, they have a normal brain. An addict brain, we go to that gumball machine and we put a quarter in and we turn it and we get one gumball. The next time we go there, we put a quarter in, we turn it, we get two gumballs. Ooh, now your brain's like, 2 gumballs? Are you kidding me?
That's probably how people
You go
become
back.
gambling addicts.
It's the same concept with gambling. It's the same exact thing. You're basically going to that machine every time, hoping that you turn that crank and you get 2 or 3 or more gumballs. And sometimes you turn that crank and you get 0 gumballs. The dopamine rewards are not consistent in an addict brain, and you start gambling with your reward system.
That's why you go to greater lengths to get that reward.
And when you hear people chasing the high, chasing the dragon, it's that time when they had a amazing experience on drugs and it was the best high they ever had. And your brain changes over time. The actual neural pathways and the chemicals that get released, they start to change over time. You may never have that experience again. Those early experiences when you were getting high, you may never have them again, but that's what you're always chasing after.
Because I when I got sober and I kind of figured out that I was an addict. Like I was willing to admit that I was an addict for the first time was when I got sober, and I immediately started looking at what other, besides drugs, did I behave addictively, and I noticed too with a lot of addicts there's like overlap, right? Like if they're alcoholic, they're also a lot of times they're also a gambler, especially with women. If they're also they have an eating disorder, or like
it's called cross addiction.
And I thought they were one and the same at first. So it's like I thought it was like you're you have an addictive personality, which now I don't really agree with that statement or that being a thing that exists. I feel like,
Mhm.
you know, some people it's drugs, some people it's this or like whatever. Drugs just is very common because of how easy it is that we just talked about. But like, so like I thought I was a sex addict because I had such a high sex drive. At least I thought I did, to be honest.
Mhm.
And so I went to like an SAA meeting, and that's where I learned very quickly that I wasn't. I went in there thinking I was, and it wasn't that other people were like worse than me or something. It was the way I thought about sex was completely different, and it wasn't the same as how I thought the same way about drugs as all the other alcoholics in the room. It was like when they were like, "Oh, would you miss work to go have sex?" You know, like that type of stuff, or like, "Would you do something unsafe? Would you, you know?" And it's like, no, but I would have done that for drugs. You know, like I definitely...
Right. I did the same thing as you, and I thought, you know, because I've always been such a sexual person, have a high sex drive. I thought, well, maybe I am a sex addict. So I went and checked out an SA meeting, and by the end of that meeting, I was very sure that I was not a sex addict because I was listening to the stories in there, and I'm like, these people. And I don't mean to say these people because I'm an addict too. The people in this room will go.
You've been in DC too long, dude. You're
way,
so careful.
way out of their way. They will go way out of their way to have sex, like you said, where there's consequences in their life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's also kind of a defining feature of an addict is you will do something despite the negative consequences. You know, people that will have sex with their toxic exes constantly. They will put themselves in risky, dangerous situations
It doesn't
to have
necessarily
sex.
mean that you have sex with a lot of people either. You
No,
know, it's
that's
more
just
the
I think
way
that's
you
a
think
healthy
about it.
sex life.
Right, like
Exactly.
and I preemptively, and it's like what we learned with there's a difference between alcoholics and hard drinkers.
Yeah.
Right. And I now, after being 10 years sober, I can really quickly identify a hard drinker where everybody else would call them an alcoholic. And I would, you know, normies would call them an alcoholic because they drink all the time. And all I need is one conversation with that person and I can tell. And then there's the guy that drinks once a week, once every few weeks, and I can tell he's an alcoholic. You know what I mean? Like the quantity of alcohol.
It's hard for the distinction. It's hard for people that don't know about addiction to understand what's the distinction between those two things because they sound very similar. And I think a lot of people, even people in the program, I think, will misidentify a hard drinker over an actual addict because of their behavior, not necessarily because of the consequences in there that it's causing them in their life or the negative, the negative consequences that they're experiencing. It's a big difference, and that person also has to be the one to say I'm an alcoholic or I'm not.
You can't diagnose anybody else. Like even though I just said I can usually tell, like I never tell anyone they're an alcoholic. I mean you can still. I'm just guessing. I'm just
from experience. You can tell.
But for me, this is how I know. If I tell you I'm an addict or an alcoholic, and that's why I don't drink, if their first response to that is some sort of defense of their drinking, like, oh, I only drink on the weekends, you know, and
I can quit when I want to.
I'm like, I didn't ask. Like, I wasn't like, so are you an alcoholic? Because it's exactly what you just said. It's like I threatened them. Like the fact that I'm sober was threatening to them. It's like what you told me about the whole Metro thing. Because I think you're right. Like I definitely have a Metro side. And like, you know, like it. I love that I can be a queen now if I want to be. Like,
you got to stop shaving your body hair. Okay, let's have a conversation about that.
No, I don't give a fuck. See, that's what I'm talking about. Like a lot of people are like, you got to grow out the hair. It's more masculine. I'm like, no, I like.
No, I just like hair.
I know.
Just
it's
like
hair. The people who like hair are so loud. They're so loud.
Guilty.
But I used
I
to
mean-
grow out, and I used to grow out my hair for that reason because so many people were like, so many people in the gay world were like, you should grow out your pubes and this, and then I was like, after like a year, I was like, I fucking hate having body hair. So like, fuck it. Like, I'm gonna shave it. I don't really care. I prefer myself clean shaven.
Yeah.
Like it's.
But
like,
also, I've learned something. People that live in the South have a different view on body hair than Northerners because you have to deal with humidity and sweat, and that's a real thing when it
with
comes to
me,
body hair.
for me, it has nothing to do with that. Because I lived in the
You just
North
like the
for-
feel.
No, I love silky smooth skin. Like I like the way it feels in the bed sheets.
Okay, fair enough.
I also like it when someone is kind of a bitch to me, like at like a cashier or like just sometimes someone's rude to you in life, and then like I bust out a "excuse me, sweetheart" like on them, like fucking throws them off. Coming from me, it throws them off so much, and I love that because like they can't respond. Like I did it to one of Frankie's coworkers.
Surprise!
She was like a total, like one of her coworkers was like a total cunt to some person at the rodeo for no reason. Like this lady just like accidentally cut us in line, but we left a gap in the line, right? But her friend was like, "Oh hell no, you cutting like you cutting us," blah blah blah. And I was like, and it was a white girl, by the way. I'm not doing like, this is how she talks. And
Yeah.
I was like, I had to like step in and be like, it's all right. Like the line starts back there. I know we kind of like we're just meandering and left a gap over here, but the line actually starts back there. And then these girls were just talking shit about that lady as if she like came in and like cut us. And I was like, ladies, y'all need to stop being so sassy. Like you, like that lady had no idea. And they were like, whoa, like I totally queened on them.
You snapped.
I did. I snapped.
that?
I went, ladies.
Mm.
Which me, when I was like fully identified as straight, would have never done. But like now that like I'm who I am, like I love that I could just like totally queen out on someone.
With their jaws at the floor.
It's just like there. Like it's not like I'm a queen all the time, but like when it does.
Queen
There's, like,
optional.
yeah, like when I want to be.
Queen optional.
I'm queen fluid.
There you go.
Oh man.
Oh,
Listen,
crush.
I absolutely loved this conversation.
Me too.
We had a great
Thank
collab,
you.
but like this type of stuff is the stuff that I absolutely, because I want to release this and then our collab, because it's like this is what actually makes the collab special. You talked about how it like there's only so much you can do.
We managed to figure out something a little kind of fun and unique, but I mean,
know,
it's
but that's why we
not
that's why
everything's
it's-
been done before. Everything's been done before, right? You
Dude,
you can't really be that unique.
Bro, I've seen two guys fuck each other at the same time.
I've seen a guy fuck himself with his own dick. I mean, hey,
Like, it's like what? Yeah, Little Bear.
it's almost like now these days you have to be so outrageous to get noticed on social media. You have to be doing something so wild or crazy, painted green with like a witch hat on, singing wicked songs with talking out your butthole, like
So do you want to know what was my number one liked and purchased? Even though I don't do PPV, but I have everything available for purchase, but you can just watch it. So my number one liked, viewed, and purchased video in my entire career was
I'm ready. Tell me.
it was with Chase Carlson, and the collab was 10 minutes, I think.
Okay.
It was super basic. It was just two big dudes fucking. And like I looked little next to him, but
Damn.
it was like just one of the most cookie cutter dry, like the only thing that was kind of unique about it is he's 6'8" and like even bigger than me.
Mhm.
and he's really handsome. So like that was maybe the only thing that was unique about that video. But
But formulaic nonetheless.
yeah, very formulaic and very short, 10, 13 minutes maybe. But we put out one of these types of things, much less produced. Like I obviously put way more effort into producing this. I do my collabs, but we just sat on the couch because there was an interesting story behind me and him. I met him when I was still straight, like years before I ever stripped or did collabs, anything. I was in Wilton Manors eating at a diner at like 4 a.m, and he walks in.
Was it Nick's? Nick's Courtyard Cafe?
Yep. It's not that anymore. But yep.
No, it's not, but I remember Nick's.
I was eating there, and this fucking giant, gorgeous man just sits down across the table. Like I'm like this, just scarfing down chicken and waffles. And then I hear, I'm not kidding, the table like shakes because a 350-pound man just like plopped down in front of me, like in a drunken way. Like, you know, when drunk people sit down, it's like, and then he's like looking at me, and he's gorgeous, right? And I look up, and he was like, hey, and I was just like, he was so sweet. He's like one of the sweetest people ever. And he's like, hey, and he thought I was gay because I was in Wilton Manors, you know, and he starts hitting on me, and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm straight. So like, but like, you're really attractive and like good looking, but like, I'm just straight. I'm sorry. Like, I didn't know, you know, I did the straight guy who's respectful response.
Yeah.
And he handled it. He was like, oh, no worries. I just assumed, I thought you were really hot. And, you know, and then he got up and left. And I didn't know who he was. Years later, I'm like, I've come out. I stripped at gay bars, and now I'm like in the fucking porn industry and everything. And he messages me, or I message him on Instagram again, and they're like, hey, you remember me? And he goes, yeah. Like, the law has clearly happened.
He's like, let's revisit that conversation where you said you were straight.
And we collabed everything, and we had another conversation afterward. I told him what happened, and I told him where I was and where things had gone, and we did a collab. And that I just put, it was a 10-20 minute conversation of us just sitting on the couch talking about that story, and then talking about now we're revisiting it, you know, 3 years, 4 years later. And it gave the collab something most porn videos don't have. It gave it like chemistry.
That is seriously lacking from many videos.
Super difficult to do. And the only thing that's worked for me is stuff like this. Because now people watch this and they see it, and then they find out. Now they want to see us hook up. Because before that, it's very surface level. It's just, I like that guy's body. I like that guy's body, you know? And then it's like, and then it's like, just fucking put whoever you want. There's 100,000 dudes that look like both me and you, you know? Like, I'm sure there's a video out there that looks just like the one we made today.
Never. Ours was so freaking unique. No, actually, you know, Frankie was the real hero today.
Oh my God. I could not do this without her.
She is amazing. His partner, by the way, wow. The attention to detail, I was very impressed with her.
And like, we've separated our strengths. So like, I'm really good on camera. She's really good behind camera. So when I like try to film her collabs, I'm dog shit.
You're like, sorry, this is not going to be good, but
you know, and she's really good at organizing, planning, all that type of stuff. I'm much better at like actually doing whatever the fuck we're doing. So like this stream thing, like I set up the computer you're at right now. I set all that up. I set so that she can stream, because I'm better at doing that. and she's more the organizer, like, so that's why I also do the group text, because I am
Yeah.
horrible at like scheduling a collab, because to be honest, I'm sure you have this too. It's like I have like 18 people a week that hit me up for a collab, and then I have to like figure out when I'm free and when they're free, and like I forget I'm talking to someone a day later. Like that's like what happened to us. I was like, didn't we talk about doing a massage? It was probably I had that conversation with somebody else, and like my brain, because I'm another thing you don't know about me, I'm super autistic.
Really?
Like, yeah. Diagnosed everything. Got diagnosed at 29. They say I'm just very high functioning because of the way I grew up. I was forced to cope with it in a different way than most autistic kids do in modern day age. I had to learn. I learned 4 languages by the time I was 10. I played sports and I traveled. I never lived anywhere for more than like 2 or 3 years, and that forced me into social situations and adapt.
Yeah.
But in my head, like I can do what me and you are doing right now. The second you add another person, it's complete chaos. It's complete. So like going to a party, like, and that's probably why I drank at parties, was like, and there's like 15 people talking. I can't manage it. I can't. It's too much. And I like things better. Like you saw my computer. This is my fucking, this is like
sanctuary.
Oh my God. I understand it. I know what it does. I know how to like people. I don't know what the fuck you mean half the time, or like what signals you're trying to send me. And I like,
it gets overwhelming. I think there's a lot of neurodivergence in the gay community, or even the LGBT community, I should say, more the queer community. I see a lot of people who are ADHD, which is also under the umbrella of neurodivergence. I see, mild autism, really. Like, I would have never known that you had autism, because I don't see you having difficulties with the social stuff. But
I am the whole time struggling so hard. I'm just so really good at not looking like I am.
But I also I go into social situations, and although I can navigate them very well from experience and just having to do it so much through life, it still overwhelms me. If 2 or 3 people are trying to talk to me at once, I lose it. I don't know how to manage that. I'm like, too many people trying to get my attention. Like if I'm at a party or something, and I'm the glue holding the party together, like I organized it, or and everybody's trying to get my attention. No.
I think that's why, like, pretentious places, and I don't mean pretentious just in like the negative way. I mean it in like an upscale place, or just a place where generally people are well held together, right? Because then there's like a lot of social rules in those settings. And with someone with autism, social rules are difficult to navigate or understand, because I think just purely logically, like I'll give you one example.
Why don't we just do things this way? Yeah.
Right. And like my first social rule I ever struggled with as a kid was the slut shaming that it just exists in general in the world. Like, I remember there was this girl that I liked, and she had hooked up with, like, this was high school, like 2 guys. And so she was then labeled a slut by everybody. And like, but like, I didn't know any of that. I just saw a girl I liked and was attracted to, and like liked her personality. I knew she hooked up with a few people, but like my brain didn't go, because she hooked up with a few people, she's a slut, because that's a social thing, right? And so I went and I started dating her. We knocked it off. We hit it off. We started dating. We started hooking up. And I was more just like, yay, now it's me. Like,
I'm the one she gets to be a slut with.
And then, but all my teammates, all my friends started slut shaming me for dating a slutty girl, right? And then like I learned, like, that's where I, like, everyone had different numbers, and like none of it made sense to me. And like I tried to abide by that, so I stopped dating her, and I started trying to only date girls that didn't sleep with people, or no, at least no one knew she slept with people. Like, so I was like, as long as it was like in a different town, You know, this is pre-social
She's a,
media.
she's a stealth hoe.
And like, so like I was like, and then like by like 22, I was like, fuck it, like this doesn't make any sense. I like sluts. That means that to me it means they're more fun. And like, which is much more of a gay way of thinking.
Sluts are great.
You know, like that's I think that's
I
why
know
get
from
along
experience.
that's why I get along with gay guys so more, because like being a slut is like glorified, and I love it. And like and so like that was one, but like if you put like I went, this is like the most autistic moment I ever had in my life. One of my other sponsees was like this trust fund kid from a super successful family, went to private school, you know, went to a really good university, only surrounded by other trust fund kids and successful kids, and like they all went to Harvard and like stuff like that, and just a totally different way than I grew up. And it's not that they're pretentious, like they're phony or anything. It's just that in that type of world, there's a lot of social norms and rules, way more than in like, you know, lower class society. And it's not that they're all wrong or anything, or I just call it pretentious because it kind of is. I went to his wedding. Like he got sober, all this shit, and he got married, and I went to his wedding. But like I was by far the most black sheep guy there, like person. And like it wasn't, I was actually at the time I was one of the most successful personal trainers in Los Angeles. I was making a fortune as a super exclusive high-end trainer. I didn't even have social media, so I did it the old school way, where like really rich people were hiring me because I was really good at what I did. And so I was actually richer and like almost further in my career than most of these like Harvard kids who started companies and stuff. But because I was like, you know, grew up in lower class society, and like I'm at that time I had like become a gay stripper and like just did a lot of shit that's kind of deviant in their world. Like I just didn't know, like I didn't know how to behave or act. Like I always felt like I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how I was supposed to, like, do I tell people I'm a stripper? Because everyone in those sittings ask you like, what do you do? Like, what's your, you know? And I'm like, I make men hard, you know, and they pay me a lot of money for it.
Nice.
And then we were all sitting at the bachelor dinner, and there was like 20 of us, and they were all talking about their wives and kids and stuff, and it all felt very fake to me because they were just talking about it in the context of their world, as if my world didn't even exist to them. So having 18 people at a table all talking, I literally had to step out because my head was actually like, I felt like I was going to pass, like I was drunk. Like I felt like
It was overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember I saw a therapist about something completely unrelated, like a few months later, and they did the test, and they were like, it was like a 1 out of 100. They were like, you're like a 74. And
How old were you?
I was 29. And
I was about, I think I was early 30s when I was first diagnosed with ADHD.
yeah, I was diagnosed with that at like 24. And the
When
great thing about all those is there's really like nothing you can do about it. Just get better at dealing with it.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, there's medications, but you know, obviously people like us can't take those types of medications.
I don't like them
Or
for
shouldn't.
nobody.
Yeah.
I don't like them because to me it's like ADHD, autism, OCD, even like extreme cases, which I've seen, are human. They're human characteristics. They're not disorders, in my opinion. And they just can't necessarily be like someone with ADHD. Having a 9-to-5 job might not be the best for someone like that.
I agree.
It's not that they have a disorder. It's just that they don't fit in this system, in a certain system. They fit better.
Mhm.
Like I have a very severe ADHD, So like the content creation world is actually fucking perfect for me because I can work at 3 a.m. I set my own schedule and like I manically work. So I like get tons of work done for 4 days and then not do shit for 2. You know?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
but I'm much more productive like this than someone trying to make me like get up at 8 every day and then go to a 9 to 5. Like,
Yeah, I tried to fit into those boxes for, most of my adult life until I started realizing it's better to just stop fighting it and to start trying to work with it instead of against it.
mm-hmm. And I think as long as you don't do what us addicts love to do, as long as you don't make yourself a victim of it.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot in today's world, especially with younger millennials and Gen Zers. They almost brag about their mental disorders. Like, oh, I have ADHD, I have chronic anxiety, I have depression, and I'm like, yeah, welcome to being a human. Like, we all fucking have this shit. Like, I have it too, but like, that's like one thing. Like, I do not let it. I am not a victim of my ADHD. I am not a victim of my depression. I am not a victim of my anxiety. The longer you say you're a victim of it, that's all time that you could be working on it to dealing with it. And like, because a victim, like the whole victim thing is like, I'm gonna be comfortable here as a victim.
Yes,
because it's not my fault. And when I feel like I'm a victim, I am now putting the blame on something else.
Also, it doesn't require change in that place.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. If I'm a victim, well, there's nothing really I can do about it. Life did this to me,
which is a comfortable place for people because then they don't have to do anything.
Sure.
And as an alcoholic, I think we especially love to do one of the most amazing. I think the one thing alcoholics can do better than anybody is they can be the biggest victim in the room while simultaneously being the most arrogant person in the room.
Yeah.
It's like you're arrogant about your victimhood. Which
is basically the same as kind of being a martyr, I guess, if you want to think of it that way.
Yeah, but I'm sure you've caught yourself being like this. And like it can feel justified because maybe the circumstances you are an actual victim, but like you're like, you do the whole like, people don't understand what I go through.
Yeah.
What I've been through. And
victimhood brings about entitlement. You start to feel like the world owes you something because I'm a victim of my life, my circumstances, my family, the religion I was born in. And, I went through a period where I felt very entitled and it wasn't doing anything for me for my recovery. I felt like, people should just let it pass what I'm doing right now with the using and the relapsing and all my behaviors. People should just understand that I've had a hard life and just leave me alone.
Yeah, I'm a victim. They need to tiptoe around my traumas.
Yeah, and I felt very
entitled. Responsibility. I'm sorry.
It was actually my mom. She's a therapist. She pointed it out to me and she said, you're acting really entitled right now. And I was so like,
of course you were offended. You were entitled.
How dare you? But something I've learned also being in on the other side of the mental health world, being a patient for such a long time, is when somebody says something to you, it doesn't mean that they're right, but maybe there's a little bit of truth in what they're saying to you, and pay attention to that. Because it doesn't mean that that's, all you are or that that's who you are, but maybe you do act this way sometimes. Right. So I'm a little more open to, those kinds of criticisms now.
Right. I think you hit the nail on the head because you could potentially be missing a deeper part of the message or a part of the message that could benefit you.
Yeah.
Like I heard someone say the other day something about, you know, it was something that at first I felt offended because it was a homophobic statement. You know, I'm trying to remember the exact word, but it was something about like us it was like us over sexualizing being gay or being, you know, it was something related to that. And it was referring to like, you know, like we express being gay by like over sexualizing everything. And I think there's an element of, I think it was way overgeneralized, the statement, but there is an element of truth to that where we should be careful to not make everything gay about sex. And we do that sometimes, you know, and like at our parades, for example. And I don't think it's like wrong to like point something like that out, or that doesn't mean that you're against the whole idea. Like, it doesn't mean that you can't sexualize being gay. That's not, because that's what this person was saying to me. But what I learned from it, when I took a step back, I was like, yeah, like you don't swing too far to the other side either, because then you're missing out on all the middle parts of being gay. Because like being gay doesn't necessarily mean who you have sex with.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't mean being a sexual deviant either. Because sometimes it's like we said earlier, it could be one thing or the other. But if we only project that being gay is sex, then that's what people on the other side are going to see.
Right.
You know?
Well, and it gives ammo to, you know, Christian extremists and Christian nationalists to say, you know, look at these deviants, look at, you know, it's all about hedonism and sin and sex and, you know, no, it's about other things too, like community and, you know, being different, feeling from a young age that, you know, something's different about you. You know, that thing that we've all felt it, where at some age you're very aware that I'm different than everybody else, and you don't even know what sex is. You know, like, I mean, you know what sex is, but you don't think about sex like that at that very young age, right?
No,
you
I
just
definitely
like,
ejaculated before I ever knew what sex was.
Oh, okay. So you had a little wet dream, or
no, I jerked off.
Oh, okay.
And didn't even know what jerking off was, what sex was, none of that.
Wow. I think the first time I was 10 or 11, I found a condom on the street. It was in a wrapper. Just to be clear, I didn't just pick up some used condom on the street.
I just immediately pictured you as 10 years old, like.
Wow.
You like blowing it up.
I knew what it was. And I was fascinated that I had access to this thing. And I took it home secretly, and I took it out of the package, and I was playing with it, and I tried to put it on. Of course, like at 10 years old, it didn't fit. And I just knew that it was slippery. And when I started feeling it on myself, it felt really good. So I kept kind of rubbing it, and, you know, it was basically like jerking off with a little like lube and sleeve, you know, little sleeve, like a flesh jack.
Yeah.
No, and I got off.
I have a
really quick.
Story. Yeah.
I didn't even come. I was too young to, I hadn't,
yeah, nothing came out when I came.
I was too young
I definitely had an orgasm, and like, I think it was like 5 years later when I learned what I was doing.
And like, you were doing it every single day after that, right?
Multiple times a day. And I felt bad about it. It's like a much watered down version of like you hiding being gay is how I felt. Like, that's what I think about when people tell me stories about they know they're gay and they're hiding it. Is I think about like when I first discovered what like being horny was, and then acting on it. And like, I remember like, I even like, this is going to sound really dumb, but I remember when I was like 9 or 10, standing in front of the mirror and like trying to stop jerking off. And like telling myself in the mirror, like 9 years old,
don't do it.
I put my hand up. Like, I just saw people doing this when they were like,
stop in the name of love.
Yeah. Like, I was like, I swear I will never do this thing that I'm doing, because I just knew that it was wrong. I don't know why. But I just like knew that it was wrong and I shouldn't be doing it. And I also thought nobody else in the world had
Mhm.
ever done this. I was the first human being ever. I was 9 or 10, so like, give me a break.
Yeah.
But like, that's what I thought. And then like, it wasn't until like because I didn't have brothers or sisters or even like family because my full family's in Africa, like, and we never lived anywhere for more than a couple years. So like, I didn't have like close friends really. So like, it wasn't until like I was in high school and the boys in the locker room were talking about this thing called jerking off. And
Yeah.
I just could tell, like, the way they were talking about it, that is what I was doing.
Ah,
And then
you didn't even have the language for it yet.
And then in that instant, I felt such a sigh of relief that it wasn't the thing that I thought it was. And then I just proudly fucking beat my meat. Like,
It's a good meat, so
but like that
it's really
like
good.
my equivalent story to like hiding something.
Dish. Are you kidding me?
I know
Bitch, please.
it's so pathetic. But like, I mean, I like most boys find out younger than me because their brother tells them about jerking off, or they watch a movie or something. Like, I was like barely speaking English. My dad was never home. My parents didn't talk to me about that shit, you know. So like, or talk to me at all. So like, it was just like I kind of like had to figure out what jerking off was like in the weirdest way possible.
It was like the Wild West. Yeah, I mean, also Mormon family, you know, parents had that like one conversation with us each when we were younger about the birds and the bees, but it was like very clinical. Masturbation wasn't even brought up. It was just like, this is what a man does with a woman, you know, which just gave me a flashback of how I first found out that homosexuality was a sin and that I had already tried to do something when I was 5 or 6 years old that was considered gay.
Wait, what at 5 or 6 could you do that's considered gay? Well, actually, I have a similar story.
I was on the swim team in this tiny little town that I grew up in, Deer Lodge, Montana. And I was waiting for my mom to come pick me up from swim practice. And this older kid was talking to me about how he figured out, or he learned from his older sister or something, what a blowjob was. And he was explaining it to me. And he said, yeah, they used to go out in the backyard, hide in the doghouse, and she'd give her boyfriend a blowjob. And I was just like fascinated by this blowjob thing. And so I asked the guy, I can't believe I was this bold as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, that, you know, he's like, hey, he was talking about how she was holding his penis in her mouth.
Why was he telling a 5-year-old this?
I think he was probably 7.
Oh, okay. I was like picturing like a
it wasn't like a
18-year-old kid.
No. Yeah, let me clarify. He was very close to my age, but still older than me. So like, so we were like, I was like, do you want to go try that? And he was like, yeah, let's go do it. And so we found this little place in the swim center pool place where it was quiet, and we were taking our dicks and putting them in each other's mouths. Didn't know what else to do other than just hold it there. And so, but I remember, like, you know, I don't even remember if I was getting hard or not, but like, it was up here. This was the excitement of it all. It was in my brain.
Experience. I think I was like 7 or 8, maybe 9 or 10. I don't remember, because I actually blocked it out for like 20 years. Like it never came back across because I trauma pushed it down. But like me and another kid that was a little bit older than me, and we didn't really know what we were doing. And like whenever we had sleepovers, we would like sword fight with our dicks. And like we would run motorcycles, like little toy motorcycles, across each other's buttholes and stuff. I don't know.
Wow.
Like super weird, right? Super weird. Like, and it was more like, it was just like my masturbation story where I was like, I don't know how to explain this to people. You know?
You still don't know how to explain it to people.
Right. And it's like, that made me think it was wrong. You know what I mean? Because I
Mm.
didn't know how to explain it. It was therefore wrong.
Right over each other's buttholes. Huh.
Yeah, I think we put some stuff in there too. Like, I don't know, like, and it's more complicated because like I was kind of like manipulated into doing all of it and like kind of forced. So like it was kind of a molestation thing, but I didn't know it at the time. And like he wasn't that much older than me, so it wasn't like the same as like a fucking 30-year-old doing it to like
Yeah.
a 7-year-old.
Did you feel excited, turned on, anything by it, or was this more like this is unwanted?
It was both. It was both. I felt like I couldn't say no, but I was also like curious.
Hmm.
You know, and to be honest, I don't remember that well because it was like when I was really young, and then I like blocked it out and I didn't remember it until like I had this gnarly LSD trip where I was coming down after like a 36-hour crack binge and then
Jesus.
decided to do 5 hits of acid at the end of that crack binge. And like the combination of like coming
my
down
God.
off of the crack and then doing 5 hits of LSD, I like
Knocked something loose. Yeah.
came back and then I was like, oh fuck, I haven't thought about that in 15 years or however long it was. And then I first started talking about, I talked about it with a therapist after I got sober, like a couple years later. And then I talked about it at an AA meeting, and I talked about the experience of like just like feeling manipulated, but then also feeling like I contributed. So therefore I couldn't, like I felt guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, the amount of men that came up to me, like that's why I'm much more vocal about it now and don't feel like ashamed of it, is like, in that room, there was maybe 75 guys, and maybe 10 to 15 of them came up to me after and were like, literally said, I have never told anybody, but I was raped by my uncle. I was touched by another guy in a movie theater, or like, these are just like some example stories that I heard, and I never told anyone. And these aren't gay guys or anything, but like, I think if anything, I think the gay guys talk about it much more openly because they have this coming out experience and they're much more willing to talk about these types of things. Where with straight guys, it's much more like they pack it the
It's
fuck
very
away,
taboo.
right?
Yeah.
And it made me think like, dude, like if 10, 15 of those dudes came up to me, I'm willing to bet you another 50 just are still just like not, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
And then I also wondered later, like, did this trauma make me block things out? Like, did it, like, I thought for a while, like, is that why I never explored my gay side? And like, I found out it didn't, but like, I wondered, like, did that trauma do that? But I definitely like hid it, not just from everyone else, but from myself. You know, like for so long. And then later realized it was like, not that it wasn't like traumatic, but that it like wasn't uncommon. You know, like how common something is that doesn't determine how traumatic it is or whatever. But it was like a difficult thing for me to like unpack.
It normalized it for you when you were able to share about it.
Yeah, but we talked about a lot. It's been 3 hours.
And I'm a talker.
I can keep
just
going
like you.
too, but like I'm gonna wrap it on the fucking molestation story.
Oh, I was gonna wrap it on AIDS, but that's okay.
But
the story why I said that is just because when I said I figured out what homosexuality was because I saw a news story. It was the 80s about this virus that was killing men, and I asked my parents what it was, and they said, oh honey, this is what happens when men do things to other men that are bad. And immediately, like I'm a couple years older than when I had that first experience, immediately I'm thinking, what if I have this thing?
Because you've done stuff, and yeah.
Because I did that thing with the kid at the pool, you know?
Yeah. So,
And
go ahead. Go ahead.
anyway, it was just like, it was a little traumatizing having to tell my parents about that. And then, you know, I'm sure that's when my mom probably first thought, like, okay, maybe I have a case, but I'm not going to ever say anything to him.
And I'll say that the AIDS thing, on the gay side of the world, we don't think or talk about it the same way today that we even did 10 years ago. And the way we handle it is much more progressive and like healthy but this is the only thing that I struggle with, being like, not the only thing, but like the main thing I struggle with, where I like to think of myself as a victim, and I'm learning to not do that, is since I've come out as bi, like, women generally don't want to touch me if they know I'm either a gay porn star or I've hooked up with men, and a lot of times I like to think of myself as like, oh, like, I'm such a victim in that situation. And like, and like, arguably, like, yeah, I am, but like, I'm acting like one, you know? And so, like, you know, in the content creation world, it's still super true. I would say roughly 80 to 90% of women will not work with me because, yeah. So if I talk, and it's hilarious. Like, I'll show you some of my Twitter DMs.
I'm fascinated by that, because it's work. It's not like, I mean, I understand if it's in in your personal life, sort of a hookup thing. I know some women are very like biphobic, but you know, this is like, this is work.
I would understand you might not want to date someone that's bi,
right?
If you're about like being monogamous. You know what I mean? Like that makes total sense to me, because then it's like, it makes the monogamy very complicated. But just like just hooking up or making content, that doesn't make logical sense to me. Why it matters what someone's sexuality is or what they've done in the past. And one of the two main things that they always bring up, so like, I'll show you some of the DMs that I've gotten if I can find them. I usually screenshot them, but like about once or twice a week, a female content creator reaches out to me because they just see my following and go like, hey, I'm going to be in Texas. Can we collab, whatever? And then I'll be like, yeah, sure. Like, I'm available these dates, just like me and you set up the collab. And then I usually get another message or no message at all saying like, oh, I didn't realize you will only work with men. And like, I already said yes.
Right. So looking for a way out. Or
they'll say like, why would you want to work with me if you're gay? And I'm like, bi exists. I also have videos with women. Like, if you just scroll, you'll see. I like 1 out of every 3 videos is me with women or trans women or, you know, and it's like, I'm the same with body types. Like, I work with all body types, like everything. Like, I'm not like I only work with other muscle tatted dudes type of guy. And then they're just like, then they just ghost, or the ones that really get loud, because women are a little bit less scared to share their opinion about these things, where I think I've noticed straight men will keep it to themselves. Women will be like, oh, like, no, like, I have to be very careful because I do studio work, so I can't test positive for anything, implying that, like, because I work with men, I'm more likely to be diseased.
Yeah.
Which then immediately I ask them, do you take PrEP or Doxy? They never say yes.
They're like, what? What's that?
And I'm like, you also realize that I do studio work and we go through the same talent testing. And then even with non-creators, it's the same thing. I hooked up with this girl once in Florida, and a week later, the entire group of girls in that group she told one of them, which then told the next one, and they all just believe what the other one says, that because I'm actually a closeted gay and I have HIV because I take PrEP. And so then they all,
It's just ignorant.
they all immediately avoided me. Like they unfollowed me. They don't talk to me. Like, and like, I feel like a victim. And I used to like be so
Here's
like,
where you can play the victim card.
poor me. But now I'm just kind of like, well, if those women are not willing, like even if they have that first judgment, right, about you're dirty, you have AIDS, all that type of stuff, that's fine, because I even felt that way just about them in general, not that gay people had it more. Just like I was very scared of STDs growing up because of the way it was taught to me. That's fine, I understand that. But if you're not open to like learning more, or if you're really set on being biphobic, or you know, whatever you want to call it, I don't know if biphobic's the right word, but
It is.
then I don't want to have sex with you. And that unfortunately narrows down the amount of women that I can have sex with, even if I'm very attracted to them, to a very small amount. And I have to accept that. Unfortunately, I have to accept that. Like, that is just the way the world is. And I can't change I can contribute to like educating people, but I can't change that that's the way it is right now.
Yeah.
And I, like we talked about briefly before, I think the next frontier is going to be bisexual men.
Yeah.
And I think it you know, we've gone through the gay movement. Gays are much more accepted now than even when I was a kid.
Mhm.
You know, like I almost find it's like when I meet a homophobic person, I'm like, oh my God, like you're a rare one.
You're a unicorn.
Like,
They're out there.
I know
They're
they
still
are.
out there.
I know they are. They live in.
They've
these
just been
weird-
hiding.
But like, it's like, I don't know. I
They're
just,
worried about being canceled.
Yeah, but it's not like it was when I was a teenager, even. Like, you know, it was like so much more prominent than it is now. Like, I feel very blessed that I am going through this journey now and not 20 years ago. You know, like, I feel very blessed in that sense. Or even like 50 years ago. Like, can you imagine coming out? Imagine trying to come out in a different country, like South Africa in 1955.
It'd be 1975, which is a few years before I was born.
It would have been insane, you know?
Yeah.
And like, so I focus on being grateful that it's now and not then, and accepting that the world will never be perfect. And like, in a perfect world, women wouldn't care that I'm a porn star or that I have been with men or that I like men too. But what can you do? You know, it just is what it is. And like, so I just focus my energy where I like it, which is the gay community. The gay community as a whole has accepted me and idolized me in a way that no one ever else has. And like, I am eternally, and also I got sober in gay AA, like on accident.
Yeah, well, those are some good meetings. But also, we're very happy to have you in the gate on this side. Okay.
Yeah, and so like, I need to stop being a victim. Like, I catch myself all the time. Like, every time there's like a hot girl and then she wants to collab and then she sees who I work with and then she no longer wants to collab, I get a little bit of a
Yeah. Well, that's just being in this business in general. Everybody has that situation where they get rejected for something that's just authentic to them. You know, for me, it's something different than that. But, you know, I find that just having the body that I like with all this body hair on me can sometimes set me apart. And some guys are like, I only fuck with smooth guys, or maybe I don't have the right, maybe I have too much facial hair, there's always something that somebody won't work with you because it's something intrinsic to you. And you have to stop feeling bad about it. You have to, I've had to figure out ways where I can just brush it off and be like, you know what? I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm not for everybody.
Yeah. As long as you don't do it as in a I'm better kind of way. Like, I mean, the guy that's saying that to you.
Yeah.
Like, if he's just going like, oh, like, this is just not my thing in a nice, respectful way, like, I can deal with that.
Yeah.
But I've had creators say things to me like, not about me, but about other creators, where they're like, oh, like, I only work with a certain caliber man. And
yeah,
like,
people can be real shits
like,
in this business.
And then I'll be like, oh, well, you're not working with me anymore. Like, I had a guy say that after working with me, and like, he wasn't that big of a creator, right? And he told me after our collab, he's like, yeah, I just feel like I'm at that point in my career where I'm only going to work with certain caliber men that have like a certain, look and following, and like,
that's a really gross thing to say.
I was like, fine.
It's very douchey.
I was like,
it's very douchey.
Pretentious.
It's
I'm like,
just
nothing turns me off more than pretentiousness. Like, I can't stand it. Like, and then I get people that tell me that I have no standards because of the people I've worked with, and I'm like, I really like that guy or girl or whatever. Like, I really liked them. They were nice. And like, that's really like all I care about at the end of the day. Like, it's like, do I like you? Do I like hanging out with you? Do I like your like you?
Are you a good person? Do we have good chemistry? Are we going to make something that people want to watch? Those are the things that should matter. Not I'm sorry, you're not my brand. I hear that one too, and it makes I'm just like, bleh.
That is the most PR way of. That's the most Mormon.
Yeah, that's
way.
probably that's probably more of a nice way of saying what we've been saying. But like, yeah, you're not really my brand is also kind of a douchey thing to say.
I know.
Why not just say, hey, I'm not into guys that have body hair, or I'm not into guys that, like that I could take better than you're not my brand, which sounds like there's something really wrong with me and they won't even say what it is.
But I can do this. So like, for example, like body hair isn't my thing, right? I prefer like smooth skin. It's my thing, right? But like when I collab with people like you, or even off camera, I hook up with people like you, I just don't focus on that part. Like there's probably other parts that I like. Like with you, it's your tattoos, like, or just the way it feels.
Yeah.
Like I just focus on that part. I'm not focused on the part I don't like, because then I don't like it.
I also have a really nice hole. You didn't even mention that. God.
Right. I implied it when I said how it feels. Yeah, like the second you were like, I'm into fisting, I was like, oh.
Your interest peaked.
Yeah, because like in general, I've always liked the way that the fisting guys felt. I've only fisted three guys ever. I've only fisted three.
Well, you have big hands, so
they also cramp. So when I'm in, they start cramping because I broke my hand so many times in my life that I don't think they compress well. That when I'm in there for a while, they literally go to sleep and like start cramping.
How long do you have it in there?
Not very long, like a few minutes.
Okay. I'm just teasing.
Yeah.
I'm in there for 30 minutes. It starts to cramp.
Which that's another thing. Like fisting doesn't turn me on. Like fisting someone doesn't turn me on. I don't mind doing it though. I like doing it. It's fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to turn me on for me to enjoy doing something. Like people always like sometimes like I feel like creators get so obsessed with, like you said, their brand Like they wanted to like show that they only hook up with the hottest people or like a certain looking people or like
They're trying to curate their life so much. It's like some people's social media pages are so over curated. It's like, this isn't really you. This is just all the best stuff that you want us to see about you.
yeah, or it's like or they just want to hook up with hot people, which like is fine. Like you can want to hook up with hot people, but like as a I don't know, like are you I've hooked up with lots of not hot people and had a great time. You know, like it's like I can't wrap my head around the idea of like you only hook up with hot like what you consider hot people. Either because that's what you want other people to think about you. It's like, you know, they only want, it's like the same as they only want to be seen in a nice car, you know? And it's like, okay, but like, why does that matter? Like, I think maybe it's my autism. Like, you know, like being in a nicer car is like such a surface level thing, you know, that like, yeah, it's not bad if you want to be in a nice car. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to like nice cars. Yeah, but like
it's like you said, it's superficial. It's just, you know,
I don't. So that's why I don't do well in LA or Miami. Like I always want to get out of there. When I'm there, I just want to get the fuck out.
You said it, I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say nothing about LA tonight.
I have lots of friends in LA. I lived there for 6 years. Like, but like that is the culture is a little bit like curated, and nothing against it. I like we curate things to a certain extent, but like I don't know. Like if you tell me that you're too good for somebody else purely based off of like looks,
that says more about that person than it does about anything else. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I also get a lot of creators that going back to self-pity that tell me like, you know, like, oh, everybody just wants muscle tatted guys, and like you can't be successful if you're not like in super great shape, take steroids and are tattooed and like all this. And I'm like, have you met Santana? He won Creator of the Year last year, and he's at over 1 million followers on Twitter.
Yeah.
He's literally more than 10 times bigger than me, and I'm steroid tatted. Like, so you saying that you're failing at content creation because you're not that is a total cop out. Like, it's a total cop out. Like, you can be anything and be a successful creator. You just got to find your people, find your brand. And Santana does exactly that. Like, he's himself. This is what he likes. This is what he does. And like, his people have found him. There's 1 million people out there who followed him on Twitter because of that. Yeah. And like, and I tell creators all the time, like, don't have this fucking victim, like the system isn't working for you thing. Like you got to figure out your own thing. Like literally another example, I interviewed a 70-something-year-old woman who started content 5 years ago. And she's still doing it full time.
That's awesome. Good for her. There's a place for everything, for every person, for every body, for every age. There is an audience for all of it. You know, that's what I don't get about the gatekeeping that happens in this industry, and the people who think that, you know, there's only one look, there's only one way to do this, because honestly, there's a person out there that will watch your stuff, and there's more than one person out there that will watch your stuff for everybody. There's a lot of people. You know, some people are more mainstream than others, but you know, that's also goes back to a lot of like, how are we programmed to think what's hot, thinks what's sexy? You know, the gay community has been very programmed to think that a certain type of body, a certain look is the only thing that's hot. Yeah. And I think that's starting to change, and I think that's awesome.
I think, but you know, this because there's no central power anymore. Like it used to be the studios.
The studios were dictating, this is what's hot. this is what you should get off to. This is what you should not to. And now that it's more democratized, people are like, oh wow, I can consume porn that I actually like. That
That's the great thing. Like, I make enough money where I don't need studios. Like, and I love that I'm in that position where if a studio calls me and is like, hey, we want you to do this, and I'll be like, nah, like,
not really.
Like, I don't have to. It's great. Like, and I really only work with the ones that I really like the content they make. Like Raging Stallion. Like, I'll say yes to anything they ask me to do. I don't even ask what they're going to pay me.
I've really always wanted to work for them.
And they do content sharing now. Like, more than half of the gigs that I've done with them, they give me the content to sell myself. And yes, they pay me less, but like, I don't even give a shit. Like, that's
the new model. That's the new model. Yeah. Most studios are moving to content sharing.
And I've been with some studios, like smaller studios, that'll be like, you need to do this. And I'll be like, no. Like, I don't like that position at all. And they'll be like, well, can you just, and I'm like, no. And it's because I don't
that's a good place to be.
I don't like the person, and they get all butthurt. They're like, we can't believe that, like, you should be saying, like, we're providing exposure. I'm like, no, you're not. Like, you're not. I'm sorry. I'm getting way more exposure off of Instagram than I am from you guys. And that's the one. I still think there's a place for studios. It's just the ones that don't adjust. Like, I think what Raging Stallion doing is perfect. Like, they're working with creators more than like trying to control them. And the ones that are just like milling out, like doing the same old model, are the ones that are going to die out. And you're right. The fact that 100%. So many people are making their own version of content now is showing the world that, like, there's a lot of like diversity in what we all like. And, like, even like, I think it's starting to happen since I've started 2 years ago, this thing that I am complaining about like people won't work with certain types of creators, it has already improved significantly, because I'm seeing more and more creators like stepping outside of their box a little bit. I'm seeing trans women work with cis women. And that is doing the women that have done that, the trans women that have done that, it's doing super well. And the bi stuff, like a guy and a girl, and then the guys also hook up, and it's not just a standard two guys sandwiching a girl. Yeah, always does really well, because no one's made that shit.
Or it was very niche, and not very mainstream. For sure.
And now I'm seeing like a lot of I think gay porn always leads the way. Because the gay creators are the ones that are the most trying to work with women, trans women. Like, they're trying to step out of the bounds the most. Because I don't think I know a single gay creator that hasn't worked with a woman, like, or it's very few, I should say, or hasn't like even considered it or told me like, yeah, I want to do. Like, a lot of them reach out to us because Frankie also does. She's willing to work with gay creators, and it's like all of them. They're all like, yeah, I want to try a guy girl thing, and like we both suck your dick together, and like, I think in 5 years we're gonna be like, remember back when it was like the same shit over and over? I think we're at that point where it's like, it's completely about to change, and you either need to change with it or you're gonna get left behind. And right. I'm sure we can keep going.
We could.
This has been wonderful.
This has been awesome. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yeah, whatever this is called.
I was gonna call it a podcast, and I was like, it's more like a show.
Yeah, I think the chat. Do you do Discord at all?
I had it, but I didn't see the reason for keeping it around. So I think it's more of a gamers thing, right? Am I wrong? No.
That's what I thought.
Oh.
I made one.
I mean, I'm not on TikTok. I barely have a Telegram account.
I have a Discord.
Okay.
And it's basically a town hall or a community center. And yes, it was originally largely gamers that used it. I didn't say I made the server, Ian. I said I have one. One of my fans, Ian, who's in the chat, and he's really mean to me, but he started my Discord, and it's probably been one of the best things I've made. Because I have almost 500 people in there now, and like it's different than other social media platforms because it's like you can organize conversations, almost like a forum, and then the people in there can talk to each other too. So it's not just like me.
So it's like WhatsApp.
Yeah, but it's like you can almost separate discussions. So like there's a part where we just talk about sex. There's a part where we just talk about AI videos that are funny. And there's a part like where I just like have my list of collabs and future collabs, and so a lot of them are asking for your information.
Oh.
So yeah,
I am
the chat's been extremely
flattered as fuck.
We've
flattered as fuck.
Literally had hundreds of people in the chat talking. When I'm doing this, I focus mostly on our conversation. But the last few, I just noticed that someone said something about you should put your OF in the Discord. If you had one, I was going to say you should go in there and put it in there, and then, or if you send it to me, I'll put it in there for them, and they can follow you. Most of my fans follow everybody I work with. So
mine is really easy for all of my social media. I was just very lucky. Also, Silver Steel told me to do this very early on. He said, find an Instagram or find a social media handle that you can use across everything. And so I found one that worked for Instagram because they won't allow 3 X's. And so I've used that on everything. So it's at Rob Montana, 2 X's.
Oh, clever.
That's it. And every OnlyFans just for fans. Rafa Club, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. All of them are that same thing.
All right.
So easy.
My mean moderator is going to post it in my Discord for you guys.
Thank you.
I'm not going to post this collab for a very long because I have so many collabs, but you might post it before me. So if you guys follow him, he might post it before me. We did a very like awesome collab actually today. It was like
2 actually.
Yeah, we kind of did 2.
It was 2 back-to-back ones.
Yeah, and
if you guys want a teaser, we'll just say, what should we tell them? Anything about it?
Yeah, go ahead. I don't care.
I just want to say it was a very sexy massage video where he's the client and I'm the masseur.
Yeah,
that's all I'm gonna say.
And
it was very good.
Yeah, it was.
We did things on that massage table that I was surprised that
I'm shocked that thing
held up. I know, right?
Yeah. Why don't you come in here? Come in my office real quick and say goodbye to everybody. And he was in Frankie's office. Yeah.
Look at this guy.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you for.
I think we talked about a lot of really important things. Yeah, look at the chat right here. Look at this.
Wow. You have some followers. You weren't mine.
Yeah, and like what really gets a lot of views is when I clip. So I don't know if you've seen my Instagram. I'll like clip little like 1-minute segments to 3-minute segments of it and then post that.
Love it.
And like I think we talked about so many good things that there will be like good conversation starters, and then they'll go watch the whole video or they'll come follow us and everything else. It creates a real connection.
I love it. And I love your logo there. With
so it looked like this. Like I was over here and you were right there.
Okay.
And then this is the horizontal or vertical version. for when they're on a phone. So it determines if they're on what, and it displays two different things, and it records the entire thing.
Oh,
So I get the recording after, and then I have a piece of software that I run it through, and it transcribes the entire thing. And then, and then determines what it gives me an idea. It's not always right, but it tells me what were the best parts in it, and goes like, "This is a really interesting topic about this." It tells me where the topics change. Yeah,
it's like Control Central in here, by the way. There's monitors. There's
I know. They've been asking me for like
everywhere.
they've been asking me for like a, what do you call it? Like a walkthrough
Oh, you should.
of like the whole setup. But the thing is, it's also like been growing because it started just on like a little laptop. Like every month, I'm obsessed, obviously.
You're like, I'm gonna add this. I'm gonna add a big microphone to make myself look official.
Yeah.